We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. There ain't no one like, cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my Xbox, she can't play me. Money in a text box, I get paid. We the best. We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best. There ain't no rest. For the wicked, I'm bad and I'm blessed. Put it to the test. For the rest, there ain't no contest. So what's next? Got me leveling up, I'm obsessed. I bring the fire like I'm possessed. My personnel and my clique is the best. There ain't no contest. There ain't no one like, cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my Xbox, she can't play me. Money in a text box, I get paid. We the best. We the best, We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, no contest. We the best, no contest. We the best, no contest.
Live with Just Corner! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Subject Sauce, where we're gonna take a share on PlayStation, all with the blessings of Just Corner. Yeah!
How you doing, Jez? You good?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? I got my cola.
Oh man,
We got the caffeine. We'll be staying awake.
bro, I wish I had the
man.
caffeine.
So, okay, man. Do you not have any caffeine? Do you not have any drinks?
Bro,
You gotta be prepared. You gotta have drinks if you're doing a podcast, dude.
no. You know what? I am so bad. I've run out of coffee, which I've minimized because of my vertigo, and I was gonna get it today for the show because I thought we gotta have Jez on. If Jez is gonna be start downing the shots, I better down some coffee. And then you know what happened? Ended up starting playing Lost Odyssey, and I just got stuck in that game. Like out of nowhere, just so disorganized because I just said, I'm gonna finish Lost Odyssey, thinking that my cloud saves from 15 years ago would carry on, but they didn't.
They didn't.
Nah. Well,
they should.
I don't know what I did do something though, and I don't know what some options came up, and I messed it up.
Yeah, I think with the 360 stuff, you have to do it manually. I think maybe the first time, but it does have cloud. It should have cloud. The cloud save should work, but also I think the cloud save for 360 is like 250 megabytes or something, so you can easily fill it up. I don't know. Should work though somehow.
Oh shit! This whole time, yeah.
I don't know.
This whole time, it's literally been me on stream. Fucking hell, what am I doing? Oh shit! And I've got you as David Jaffe. Chat,
No!
please. This whole time, chat.
Or
I'm
David
so
Jaffe.
disorganized. I'm so disorganized.
This is like when we do Xbox 2+1 and I'm streaming and I mess it all up.
Bro, I feel your pain.
We have the same chaotic energy.
Yes, we do. We do. We really do. I'm gonna find your name tag. Bam. Okay. Oh, there it is. David Jaffe's now Jess Gordon. Oh man,
Poor
thank
David.
you. Oh, poor David. David Jaffe, he had a good time. Chat was not having chat love him secretly, but Jaffe's a high-spirited, no filter character, so he just shits on chat constantly. I love it. That's why I get him on.
I like. Yeah, it's good to be that way sometimes. I think.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. What's been happening with you, Jez, man? Look, forget games. We got a shit ton of topics to talk about. But what is you saying, Blad? Because I haven't seen you for about a year and a bit. Because I saw you last time at Gamescom last year.
God, That's a good question, man. It's been a while. It's been a while since we hung out, man. We hung out at Gamescom like 2 years ago now. It only feels like yesterday to me because I've just been
2 years.
I'm so damn busy.
Is it 2 years?
Has it been 3 years?
No, it's not been 3 years. What are you talking about? Was it last year? No.
2 years. 2 years. It wasn't. Was I there last year? Maybe it was last year.
It was
I don't
last
know.
year, man. Wait, was it?
I have no
last year?
concept of time anymore, man. Too busy. The days just merge together, and every shred of free time I get, I spend it in a video game. And I have no concept of anything anymore.
Bro, I'm the same, man. Like, literally no concept of time. It just goes like this. It goes like this. It felt like I only saw you a few months ago. So I may be wrong. It may be 2 years. But how you been, man?
I don't know.
What's life saying?
I've been doing all right. I'm just retweeting you. So
Oh, you
over
just
here with Gaz.
let me tweet it out.
Just
Do you tweet it? We are live.
just written that out. But yeah, I don't know, man. I've been doing all right. I just working. So much stuff going on in all sorts of different directions, and since now I'm a managing editor, I do less content creation than I probably like to be doing, and you probably might notice I tweet less these days, and I'm less sort of. I don't know. Oftentimes I have to get Rand to get me up to speed with stuff that's going on in the news and stuff. But it's overall, yeah, it's been fun and interesting, and publishing is a difficult industry, but we're trucking along.
I mean, you're
Hopefully
managing
better times are ahead. Yeah. Managing.
That's crazy.
Somewhat.
We're all managing.
I'm
somewhat.
I'm trying to manage.
We're all trying to manage, man. We're all in the same boat, but you're doing really well, man. Like, you're making waves.
I appreciate it.
You're a celebrity now, man. You got Xbox 2, bro. You're the Jez called out. Didn't Colin Moriarty sign you up or something, or offer you something, or was that someone else? I don't know. Are you part of his team now?
No, I'm not with I'm not part of their team. I did one guest podcast with I did Sacred Symbols Plus one time. Like a guest spot. But now, yeah, we're still doing the podcast, rocking and rolling. I do a Warcraft podcast on Sundays now as well, so there's 2 podcasts.
Oh wow.
I'm thinking about streaming a bit more as well, getting more into streaming game. I do miss streaming. I used to stream a lot back when Mixer was the thing. I still got my Mixer hoodie. It's the most comfortable hoodie I've ever owned, man. And Microsoft, yeah, Mixer died, but at least I got the hoodie to prove it.
Oh, man.
But I miss streaming. It's fun doing it live, on camera and all that stuff. I wasn't going to be on camera today, but I negotiated and now we're on camera.
Yes! Chat, I'm so grateful you're in the chat. Because the stream works, they want to see your face. And one day Rand will actually turn up as well and keep up with his promises, the little shit. He's never even... I can't believe he's got away with that. Like, he promised that and we were all waiting, like, finally. And then, nah. Just nah. I was like, that induced so many people to subscribe. But, he's a shy little bugger. But he'll get there. He'll get there.
It is... Rand's got a reason for not wanting to be on camera just yet, but he's working on it. So like eventually we'll get Rand on camera. We'll do a big on camera show showing our beautiful visages,
I can't wait.
World, and then it'll be lit, and then we'll start our OnlyFans. We'll start our OnlyFans together.
Yeah, I'm telling him that look, if we go to that is great. You'll make some money, I'm sure. And I did say to him that if we do meet up next year, if Xbox is having an event, well, the summer showcase events, I don't even know if there is any kind of... But this is where you're going to be my yang to my yin or whatever it is, because, me, I'm quite... not, I was going to say dismissive, or I'm just a bit pissed off with the way things have happened with Xbox. And you're a lot more optimistic than I am, Jez. So I think you're going to be my yin to my yang or vice versa. I don't know how it's going to work. But
maybe. Gaming Forte dropped into our Discord the other day and spoke to me around a little bit. But yeah, I feel the frustration in the community. I really do. And I've sort of I've been through that cycle too, where I was really frustrated about it. But I have the benefit of, I've been to a lot of Xbox shows. I've met a lot of people who work high up at Xbox. And I have the benefit of just going to them directly with some of my questions and concerns and, repeating the questions and concerns that everyone in the community has. Yeah. So I do have I suppose I do have some more reasons to be a little bit more optimistic, but at the same time, I'm not completely optimistic because I've seen Microsoft have good plans in the past and then drop the ball, fumble it, trip over, step on rakes, fall off a cliff, drown in an abyss of misfires, so I have to be optimistic.
And that's him being nice.
Be optimistic, or you'll go mad. You'll go mad if you don't have a bit of optimism sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, for me, I always come from a little bit, perhaps people say it's a harsher view, but I have a pretty lofty expectation of where Xbox could potentially have been. And having been an Xbox fan since day zero and watching the fumbles, particularly with the Xbox One generation, and kind of being meh on the Xbox One generation, and then giving them that one more chance, really go at it, and everything was stacked up for Xbox, and it's just they falter in so many different ways. I mean, between the three, I'm still more of an Xbox fan than I'm a PlayStation fan. I don't even have the console. I borrowed it off my mate to play Astrobot. Nintendo Switch, love the Nintendo, but it's gathering dust. If it wasn't Smash Bros, that's the game that really gets usage. But I have masses of respect for Nintendo and Sony to a certain degree. And you don't. Yeah. Well, and it's hot and cold. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about Nintendo as well, what they've been doing with, with Palworld and whatnot. But generally, it's just there's a multitude of reasons, but it seems like leadership. And I was going to quickly talk about this one thing that's kind of popped up, a little snippet from Dina Bass, who is a very lovely and quite talented Bloomberg reporter.
Known Dina for a long time. She's awesome.
She's lovely. She's the yin to Jason Schreier's yang. She's the, she
Good way
is.
of putting it.
Yeah, she is, and I do have a lot of respect for her, and I really enjoyed how professional, and I mean like just professional, like actually reporter professional she was in that interview with Sarah Bond. And she did a little article, and and Tom Warren shared a snippet of it. It's behind a paywall, so I couldn't access it. And it's talking about Sarah Bond, the Xbox president. So I've heard conflicting things about Sarah Bond. I've heard one point like she's not like, she's full on corporate team about, hey guys, and I could see that when she did that Dina Bass interview, she just crumbled, like the veneer of her like Botox, whatever, was just crumbling at the question of what happened with Tango Gameworks. Like, yeah. And then I've heard this other side of this woman where she's a feisty go-getter that doesn't take nonsense. And this is this was quite surprising. So I'm just gonna read out what Dina Bass and her article say about Sarah Bond. She goes, at first, Bond and Spencer's personal styles clashed. So that's really good, because, you know, Phil Spencer's a really nice guy, but he's like a robot. And come on, man, no one can be that nice. And he must have like a sex dungeon or something. But anyway, at first, Bond and Spencer's personal style. You regret coming here. What are you gonna say? Your face, man, you're making me laugh.
Nah, it's just funny because I know Phil. He's so squeaky clean.
Bro, there's no one like that clean. There's no one that one clean. If he's that clean, there's a 50 Shades of Grey sequel in his house. I'm telling you, man. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. No, someone doesn't sweat, I don't trust him.
I remember when I met Phil at Gamescom, and I says to him, I can't remember if I'd already played Starfield or not at that point. But the first thing I said to him was, "Where's the gore? There's no gore in Starfield."
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, you know, not every game needs gore, you know. And I'm like, well, I disagree, you know. But
every game needs gore.
Every game needs gore. So Phil gives me the impression that he's like just, you know, super squeaky clean, but you know. But yeah, continue.
Do you think that squeaky cleanness helps him with the competitive resolve? Or do you think that maybe he's undoing as a leader of Xbox?
He's more competitive than you think, but he's been at Microsoft for a long time. He knows the corporate landscape. There's a lot of politics involved with everything going on there.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
Some of it is that, but we'll talk more about that in a bit when we get onto that topic. You were gonna quote.
Yeah, and then I got distracted.
Dina Bass.
So Dina Bass says Xbox says with Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer's personal styles clashed, and the two sought out Microsoft's HR chief Kathleen Hogan for coaching because they're beefing so much. And an unusual step, thought Hogan, that she found admirable, that these two top execs came to see HR. We're not getting on. And then Bond recalls Spencer and others at Microsoft telling her that she has a tendency to push the envelope and not let something go. Well done, Sarah. It depends on what you're asking, though. But she goes, which was new to them. This was a new phenomenon. Sarah Bond putting her foot down and trying to push things along was new. Her trying to push the envelope was new to Microsoft. What kind of clones do they have in this company that a senior exec pushing the envelope actually is like, oh, what's going on? Well, this one can think for herself.
This is exactly what I was talking about when it comes to Microsoft's corporate culture.
Yeah.
Because like when you work in a company that big, which doesn't really have any direct serious competitors, like any one of Microsoft businesses could be failed and they'd be fine as long as I've got the server and the AI stuff. Yeah. So like there is a culture of complacency there, you know.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of these people who've been there for life, and it's almost like a lifestyle situation for them. But Sarah hasn't been at Microsoft for life.
Yeah.
She's almost like an outsider to some degree. So, like, it's not surprising to me at all that Microsoft was like, oh, God, there's someone who actually wants to do things. That's weird. Because, like, for so long, Microsoft's just been a company that often does cruise and, you know, doesn't shake things up. I remember back in the day, before ABK and all this stuff, Phil used to say that Xbox was like a well-funded startup, and it was the only part of Microsoft's business that was really doing anything seriously disruptive from a consumer point of view. You know, you had Surface doing their thing and experiment with folding phones and stuff like that, but it was only really, it was just like Xbox and Surface really that were doing anything that wasn't just aggressively resting on the laurels. Like if you remember Terry Myerson's era running Windows and then Xbox being underneath that.
Yeah.
Windows is just like, since Windows 8, they were just kind of like, oh God, we're scared to try anything now. You know, and I think Microsoft does have this issue where you get yes men and people not wanting to rock the boat too much, and they're scared of, you know, jeopardizing their promotional opportunities by being too much of a disruptor. But Sarah does not give me the impression that she gives a shit about any of that.
That's
so
what
that
I love
scans with what I've met her a few times, and that's kind of that's what scans with me about Sarah. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. But continue.
Yeah, well, so I've heard two things. One side, like she's like a bit clueless about the gaming side of things, and then the other side is saying, well, actually, no. She's actually quite strong on the whole exclusivity point. That she was like, this is Tim Stewart and Amy Hood and those guys. And I think I'm hearing a lot from the background from the people in the know. I wonder who are saying Tim Stewart, Amy Hood, you need to, like, guys, you keep going at Phil Spencer and Satya, of course, but Tim Stewart and Amy Hood are really steering the ship. So I'm just wondering, like, okay, Sarah Bond is this maverick, but she's also been put in charge of broadening Xbox's horizons as well, beyond the console. So her actual role is doing potentially the multi-plat strategy that me and you despise.
She's in, her job is to be a disruptor, you know. So the mobile store, which is like fighting against Apple's policies, like that's an insane challenge that she has to. That's more than any of the challenge related to console. To convince Apple to let Microsoft put their own store on iPhone, you know, that is a insurmountable challenge that she's been handed there. And you know, and as much as I want to have optimism and confidence, I ain't confident that that mobile store is ever going to work, because Apple will do everything in its power to obfuscate that from happening. But the whole multi-platform strategy thing, Microsoft, like I say, Microsoft is a corporate entity, and Tim Stewart's job is to literally count the money. And then you've got people like Sarah and Phil, whose job it is to make money, but also they will be in the position to push back on some of the more crazy things that Microsoft corporate really wants to do. And, you know, and then you'll get in these arguments, and then there'll be some kind of compromise. So, like, what I envision right now, and this is as someone who now I've worked in a corporation, a publicly traded corporation, for how many years now? 4 years, and I've learned so much about how these kind of companies work. Because I used to work for a charity, and I worked for a startup, and now I've worked in a big corporation, the biggest publishing corporation in the world. And all these corporations, like, they have like similar kind of issues, I think, when it comes to navigating growth and staying ahead of the curve of inflation and costs going up, but also not wanting to hollow out what you already have. Because, like, you know, with the whole multi-platform strategy, and a lot of fans are worried, this is what a lot of fans are worried about, and I think rightfully so, to be worried, that if you push too hard in that direction, people will start questioning, well, why buy an Xbox when everything's on PlayStation? Wouldn't it be far more economical if I just have one console that plays everything?
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I think we've got this situation now where it's like only a few games. You know, everyone, the way I feel like a lot of people act like every single game has already gone to PlayStation. But really right now, today, it's only a few games. Nobody cares about Pentiment going there. Nobody cares about Grounded going there. You know, and Sea of Thieves is a service game from a smaller studio, and I think a lot of people can really like, on paper, think, okay, well, Sea of Thieves has probably done all it can possibly do on Xbox. There's at least the logic there with Sea of Thieves, but then when it comes to things like the iconic sort of franchises, like your Gears, your Halo, your Forza would do insane numbers on PlayStation, and it would seriously damage Gran Turismo potentially, which is, you know, it could undermine Sony. It could be a strategic move to put Forza there, but psychologically speaking, it's a big pillar of Xbox's identity, and putting it there is something that they'd really need to think carefully about doing. And if it was Tim Stewart completely running everything, I think Halo would already be on PlayStation right now. It's people like Sarah and Phil who are probably like, maybe we should do this, but we really got to think hard and long about it and how we position it and stuff. And I want to believe that, but then you see things like the way they announced Indiana Jones for PlayStation, and it was like, Jeff Keighley was there like, one more thing, oh, it's coming to PlayStation, and then nobody was talking about the gameplay, nobody was talking about the game itself. Our article, we had a huge preview article about, because one of my colleagues went to a preview event for the game, we had a huge article to preview it. But our news post about it coming to PlayStation did like 5 or 6 times more traffic.
Of course
so
it did.
Yeah, of course it did. So it was like, nobody cared about the game. It was all about at least in the core community who are engaged with, you know, reading this stuff. Nobody cared about that. It was all just about the announcement about it coming to PlayStation. So,
It's just,
you know,
I mean,
I've
like,
heard this.
you're saying it's not every game, but then they do that. And then,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, well, your gas,
My camera's blown up.
but then the way they did the Indiana Jones thing to me suggested that they have no shame about the whole thing, and it just like, well, I would have, like, a lot of people are pretty chill on Doom coming to PlayStation, but I really didn't want. Yeah, I get it. Historically, it's been there. It lines up with some of the previous statements where there's a legacy and all of that shit, but it would have been so incredible for competition if Doom had stayed. The whole industry would have been very different. People would be looking at Xbox, not just us core gamers, but a lot of people very differently. Doom, an Xbox game, because with Doom coming to PlayStation, it's not seen in the wider circles as an Xbox game. So, are you back? But yeah, so, you know, it's just, I don't know how they reconcile this, because I do think, like, a lot of people say, and this is what Phil Spencer was telling, you know, Colt on Party Chat, like, you know, Twitter is just Twitter. That doesn't, whatever Twitter says doesn't match up with what's happening in the real world. But I think this one, they're making short-term gains and losing long-term. And I don't know how they think they can reconcile the brand strength with this open legs, or what I call the Village Bicycle Protocol. I don't know how they're going to do that. I just think it's such a bad idea.
Well, I think I heard there was some weird mitigating circumstances with regards to the way that Indiana Jones stuff went down. I heard that Troy Baker was supposed to be there to talk about the game.
Okay.
And some kind of, because of the strikes, he had to pull out of being there to talk about the game. So some of the marketing beats was just sort of done on the fly. And I've heard, I've had the blame put on Jeff Keighley for the way that was announced, you know, from people I've spoken to. I don't know how true that is, but let's just, but like I say, even if like you want to blame Jeff Keighley or whatever, Microsoft should have been all over that. Like, you can't blame Jeff Keighley, even if it was true that, you know, the stuff about Troy Baker and all that kind of stuff. Microsoft should have been on hand at all times to control, because, you know, Sony would have been, Nintendo would have been.
Yeah,
they should have been
100%.
on hand at all times to control the way this was going to be perceived, because the way it was announced, it undermined the game. You know, forget the platform stuff for a second and the multi-platform anxiety. It undermined Indiana Jones because everyone was all of a sudden just talking about the controversy surrounding that strategy. And I think it did a disservice to the game and the devs. You know, it was like, okay, we got this awesome game we're showing, and then it was just a big slap with controversy right at the end. It was just an awful way to market that stuff. So, like, when I say, like, there's I think one of the things that I often consider is Xbox has spread themselves really thin when it comes to doing this integration and things like this, like, you know, the bad messaging around the Indiana Jones multi-platform announcement. A lot of this stuff slipped under the radar. Some of it's a cultural thing, with Bethesda historically being a multi-platform team, and not necessarily, they don't have the culture around feeling beholden to Xbox like a 343 would be. Like a
But then
343
they had an
maybe.
FTC hearing, man. They even had the people come out and talking about their strategy and how big that was. They had, you know, deposition that they were giving out, you know, like talking about it quite publicly. You know, Bethesda guy, like, we were gonna bring it. We were, you know, who was that guy who left? The
Pete
guy,
Hines.
Pete Hines, that's it. Pete Hines, who, like, I wanted to, I was against it, but we changed our mind. So it's not like internally they would have been like, oh no, we didn't know this was gonna be a big deal. But you know what? It is messaging
Saying
though.
one thing to, you know, the lawyers, you know, the slimy lawyers. No offense, guys. But it's saying one thing to them and then another thing to your audience, and it has given us a lot of this, you know, when you look back, for people who are, you know, engaged with that court case and are aware of some of the quotes, a lot of people always come back to Phil's quote, for example, where he says PlayStation takes on money and then spends it on excluding us from, you know, multi-platform games. You know, a lot of that stuff, you know, has come back to haunt Xbox and stuff, but you know, there was $80 billion riding on that deal. So a few mean tweets to get your point across was probably worth it for them. But, you know, it's going to be like this ongoing thing. And I think I said it to Rand on Xbox 2 once, where the whole messaging situation with Xbox has really flipped on its head over the last couple of years, because when they were doing the backwards compatibility program and Game Pass was fresh, it was like every month or every 2 months we got this drip feed of positive news. It was like, oh wow, MLB The Show is coming to Xbox Game Pass, and then it was like, oh wow, Max Payne 3 is coming to backwards compatibility. It's like this drip feed of positive news, whereas now it's like a drip feed of negative news, where it's like, oh, this game's no longer exclusive. Oh, the value of my investment has decreased, you know, and oh wow, Xbox is doing this in a haphazard way, which might be harming developers' interest in the platform, you know. So we went from having this sort of, you know, this, I don't know what you call it, a sort of pipeline of little positive marketing beats, and it's been replaced with all this anxiety and nervousness, because Microsoft does have a history of ditching products, and that's what big companies tend to do when they're not doing well. But I don't envy Xbox's position right now, because if you look at the Newzoo report of the console industry, it's shrunk. And not only has the amount of players shrunk, the amount of time people are spending in gaming overall has shrunk.
Yeah.
And the amount of that people are spending in gaming overall has shrunk. And mobile gaming is a large part of that. You know, a lot of people are feeling the pinch, and there hasn't been like huge releases. Like the data was skewed a little bit by A, the pandemic, and B, games like Hogwarts Legacy, which was just an absolutely massive game for the industry that year. And then the year before, I think, was Elden Ring, if I remember correctly, which is also really big. And you know, and then Call of Duty had not a terrible year, but like that, and a bit of an off year, which I suppose might have affected things as well. But you know, it's the first time I think people in our sort of generation, we've kind of experienced this with the industry, where it's sort of hit this point where, you know, coupled with the weird economic landscape, the interest rates being what they are, supply chain price gouging being what it is, distribution price, you know, the cost of distributing things has gone up a ton as well. And you've even got like macroeconomic factors like the war in Ukraine, which has affected, you know, oil prices and inflation there, and which, you know, when you ship in products, all these stuff sort of coalesces into this sort of perfect storm of bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
And gaming has sort of been exposed to it. There are other industries which are doing really well. you know, after the pandemic. You know, the hospitality industry, you know, people like, oh God, you know, we had a pandemic. Now I want to, you know, I saved a lot of money because I didn't have to buy any petrol. Now I've got tons of money. I can go on vacation and do all this other bullshit that I couldn't do during the pandemic. Hospitality industry doing really well. Tourism's doing well. Even advertising. Advertising's booming right now. But gaming's sort of one of the industries that is growing not as rapidly as some of the other entertainment industries. And there's, you know, they call it a correction, don't they? And we've seen all the layoffs and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's the first time in our generation we've kind of experienced this sort of, oh, the industry is having these problems right now. Because for the longest time, and then during the pandemic, everything blew up, you know. Me and Rand, like, even like the podcast numbers were crazy because everyone was stuck at home. Windows Central, we were doing crazy because everyone was stuck at home, and gaming benefited from that. You know, while all the restaurants had been shut down. So
it flipped on its
construction right now, and it's flipped on its head. And Xbox is trying to figure out how to navigate that. And but you're also, you know, it's not exclusive to Xbox, and a lot of fanboys would have you believe that. But it's seriously not exclusive to Xbox, the problems. And you look at all the problems different publishers are having, Sony are having even, you know, they missed their console targets, the you know, with the console which can do no wrong, you know, if depending on who you ask. And so it's an industry-wide thing right now, and I think I
mean, it is an industry-wide problem.
I still want them to do better though.
Yeah, no, but I mean, generally the industry is suffering in many ways, and this isn't just an exclusive Microsoft problem. But Microsoft or Xbox has a huge identity issue now because, you know, let's be honest, they've waved the white flag on the console wars. You've had Phil Spencer's apology to Kind of Funny holding his hand up interview there. This strategy flies in the face of express statements from Phil Spencer. So, you know, Xbox is like just weaning and transitioning into this third-party publisher thing, which, by the way, I have to remind you, Jez, I was the one telling you that this was going to happen last year. You're like, nah, guys. I'm like, yeah. Even I have sources.
I didn't believe it, no.
Yeah, remember that call? Or was it call? Or was it? I don't think it was a call, or I don't know what it was. Me, you, and Rand. I'm like, yeah, man.
There was like, my sources like to debunk things a lot, right?
Yeah.
And you know, to stop misinformation spreading out there and stuff. And I sort of like, I probably should have realized that when they were stonewalling me on this, that it must have meant something. But I don't know, maybe I just didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, it was like Christmas and I didn't really care.
yeah.
That much.
It was around my Christmas time.
It was really funny. Like Reforged Gaming recently was oh
God.
He was talking about he was talking about some of this stuff, and to be fair, he was defending me, which I thought was unnecessarily kind of him, because his audience weren't very appreciative of that. But he said something like I can't remember what he's saying. He was saying like he was saying something like, oh, Jez, you know, would have well sourced this information that this multi-platform thing wouldn't have happened before he put out that tweet. I was like, nah, man, I was drunk when I tweeted that. I didn't check anything. It was like, I was like, it was Christmas. I was drinking wine, and I tweeted that out, and then everyone got upset. But like, you know, it's
bro, it happens in the game.
It happens, you know. Some people won't remember when I said. I famously said, like, a long time ago, Sea of Thieves was going to be the next PUBG when I previewed it, and then it launched like it did, and everyone was like trolling me about that for like 2 years. You know, then Sea of Thieves did all right in the end.
And it blew up at one point. Like Summit 1, GG. All it took was the right person to blow it up, and boom, there it was. Like now, it's like I shouldn't say that. I'll be in Guantanamo Bay to say boom. But it did blow up. So you got vindication there in the long term, and Sea of Thieves is such a big seller. I mean, it dominated the PlayStation charts after 6 years. Something that Concord couldn't even do for 3 minutes. So
it hasn't quite done as well as PUBG, but you know, it did a lot. They're stuck with it, you know, and worked hard on it. And I suppose, like, in a minute when we change tack and talk about Concord, you know, it is a vindication of Xbox's willingness to stick stick it out with a product that maybe doesn't resonate initially, you know?
Well, I don't know. Then you look at what they did to Tango and Hi-Fi Rush, which did resonate critically with awards and everything, and you still killed it. Whereas Concord is
there's some mitigating factors with Tango.
There are. We'll talk about that in a sec. But on the Concord point, I want to talk to you about this, man. Like, so Colin Moriarty, and he's been the PlayStation's little prophet as far as content creators are concerned. And PlayStation guys are now throwing their tomatoes at him because he broke some crazy news. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true. This Colin Moriarty, it doesn't strike me as like he's not a journalist, like that, you know, that kind of typical journalist. But he says
he's well connected. He's been around for a long time.
Of course,
he used to work at IGN.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get some sources on this as well, but continue.
Yeah, because someone from Kotaku also said like, look, I'm also hearing something similar about the toxic positivity bit. But this is what Colin Moriarty said. He said he spoke extensively to someone at Concord, and it's so much worse than you think. It was internally referred to as the future of PlayStation with Star Wars-like potential. And a dev culture of toxic positivity, which halted any negative feedback, and it cost them 400 million, 200 million before on their own accord. I don't know what kind of backing or funding they had. And then when Sony got into the picture, they had to commit to this for another 200 million. And if you look at the credits of the amount of people that worked in the game, it's a lot. It goes on for like a good few minutes. And it's like, there's a lot of people who worked on this game, which astounds me, Jez. Think about that number. That's like double what? Like some of the biggest games? Like...
a lot of money.
For Concord, this shit-looking game, you looked at it for 2 seconds, you're like, what the hell is this? 400 million? It's got to be a money laundering scam. Do you really think 400 million? Do you think that's... I mean, I'd like it to be the case, because I've been shitting on PlayStation fanboys on Twitter all day yesterday. But, come on, man. 400 million? 400 million, Jeff.
I mean... I have no sources on this, so I don't know for sure if it's true or not, but I can potentially believe it. You know, the game was developed in Bellevue, which ain't cheap, and like you said, they had previous investment, previous funding, and when you're paying like, you know, a lot of people in a gentrified area, you know, because you've got a lot of corporations, mega corporations in that area, which pushes living costs up, which pushes wages up. I can believe it that it would have cost somewhere in the region of that if you take into account the previous investment. You know, I would not be surprised if that was true. And it's kind of like, it just goes to show like how much of an absurd risk some of these service games kind of are. But what blows my mind is like, because I was trying to defend the game on Xbox 2 yesterday, because I was like, I got Fire Sprite mixed up with Firewalk.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're UK based, right? So maybe it was like a Redfall situation where they were so far away from the people who would have been like, you know, that it was almost like a logistical issue where they sort of I don't know, it flew under the radar kind of thing. Maybe it was just so far away from Sony's like headquarters or whatever. But no, it's pretty nearby. That's what they are. And then like when you go looking more into it, it's like Colin said that that he described it as Herman Hall's baby. It just shows you like how, you know, when you do get something super out of touch and you have yes men around, toxic positivity, which is, you know, it is a problem in corporations in general. Then you get something like Concord. You know, if Redfall was a flop, this is like a megaton of a flop. If it's true, if it's really true,
bro. This is one of the biggest flops. If it's 400 million, bro. This is one of the biggest flops in the history of gaming for a very long time. Very long time.
It's true, yeah.
People are saying Halo Infinite. People are still playing Halo Infinite. and there's 500 million for
Halo
that.
Infinite's profitable now. It's profitable.
Is it really? Where'd you get that
Yeah,
from?
dude. People, sources.
Oh shit! Halo Infinite's profitable now.
Yeah, it's been profitable for a while. You know,
Oh
and you've got, like,
shit!
microtransactions all over the place. It's gonna happen, right?
Shit. Halo Infinite's profitable now.
Yeah, it's
That's-
profitable.
But I bought a shit ton there, so then that makes sense.
I
but-
feel like might have said that themselves at some point.
Did they?
I didn't know if that was new information. I don't know, but but yeah, like I mean, Halo's a whole separate thing. You know, you can talk about how like the
Yeah, I
brand
know.
Halo and the issues there, right? But it's not even the same realm of issues that Concord is in. You know, the studio's supposedly in a holding pattern now, trying to find out if they've even got a job or not.
They're
And
gonna
also
get cut. There's gonna be a cut any day now. We're gonna find out that the whole studio's gonna be shut down, or they're gonna absorb the staff.
It's awful.
But does that not make bro? This is a huge black mark. In like, boom, that's it. You flopped on multiplayer in a big way. You after factions, and then you've got this. That's a red stamp right there. Bam, like 2 strikes. Then you've got Marathon coming, and if Thingy can't do if that flops from Bungie, bro, the stigma of PlayStation not being able to do multiplayer will be so real that I'm gonna be sent to Guantanamo Bay for fisting too many ponies online on this multiplayer point, because I will not relent. That is bad, bro. Like, bro, every time I vouch for PlayStation, they mess up. I should vouch for PlayStation more. But I always say that their first-party studios can do some amazing multiplayer work, but they can't. Or not so far. Not so far. Bro, that's...
It's a tough industry, man. You know, like...
Stop being so soft, man. It's a tough industry. Kumbaya. Are you Paris Lily? Are you Paris Lily? Come on, man. You've got hair on your head. You don't need to be so nice.
I know too many devs at this point, right? And I've been in like too many conversations where I can just be like, oh, they suck, they failed, you know, and all this stuff. It is hard, and I have so much respect and admiration for anyone who can create anything, bro. YouTubing is easy. It's fucking easy, bro. You sit here, you just by yourself. You don't have to deal with anyone else. No budget, no corporate dudes spitting in your ear saying like, oh, you've got to cut this back, or you've got to do this, you got to do that. It is hard to create a game. It's fucking hard, man.
Who cares?
I have so much admiration for people who can do this kind of shit, man.
I do too, but I have a lot of admiration. But that doesn't mean I need to wear a tampon every time I talk about developers when they fail. That's just ridiculous, man. Like, no one does it in my work. I deal with corporate. I've been in large corporate law firms. I'm doing my consultancy now. I deal with clients all the time. I do multi-million-pound transactions a week. Pressure on me. I get
being a
one
lawyer is
digit.
easy. What are you talking about? Just use ChatGPT. I
do
saw
use
that. Lawyers use ChatGPT now.
We do use ChatGPT. It makes a lot of mistakes, but come on, man. And you know what, Jez? You summed up the problem. Do you know what? You'd be a problem. Do you know why? Because what did Colin Moriarty say? Toxic positivity. And that's the reason why this game.
No, but if I'd have been there in the room with the devs of Concord or any of these games, and I actually got to sit down and play it properly for real, you know, I would have been like,
this is shit.
This ain't gonna appeal to anyone. You know, like I've got younger relatives, and oftentimes I speak to them about what their feelings on the industry is like, because we're like old. No offense, but we're old.
We are.
And we live in a bubble, and we're not driving growth in the industry. We're sort of getting to this point where, you know, a lot of us are having kids, or we got too much work. So a lot of the devs are sort of looking towards where the growth is. And there's, you know, mobile gaming's pulled back a little bit, but PC gaming spend is up. Console spend is like, is much lower than mobile, but overall, but it's like, it's still sort of, it's trending even. Yeah. But when you account for inflation, then it's, you know, net negative, I suppose. But it's like they're looking at mobile and Gen Z, and they're coming up to the age of having disposable income and not necessarily a lot of. They've got more free time potentially, so they look at like Gen Z and what Gen Z wants and stuff like that. And you show like most Gen Z people who play like games like Valorant and stuff like that, or Genshin Impact, and then look at Concord. They're just gonna think this is just. Honestly, I think above everything else, it was the design, the visual design of the game,
Bro.
which was the big barrier to it.
And
the huge barrier. It's like unappealing. The game is unappealing to look at.
Yeah, and honestly, people always say like, I genuinely believe that. I agree with you that the way the game looks, and they were ironically trying to angle for Gen Z with this really like muted, no real conviction on their game design, and we're seeing that so much. Just before I go on, I just want to read these super chats. First of all, Smart661, yeah! Shout out to you with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, whoever got those. Well done. Hoggy Chatty, what's up, Dad? How you doing? Thank you with the 5, because $400 million production cost, plus acquisition cost, plus marketing. It's also likely they had to take on a new facility for Firewalk, so upwards of 600 million. Hoggy's just putting the number up and up. Crazy.
Hoggy's just throwing more millions of dollars out there.
Clip that. You know the weird virgins, or was that saying Oliver Draco and all these guys with like no chin, like and they clip it. Just share it, clip it. I know you're there. You got nothing better to do. Slim Pickens with a £2 super chat. Have a great show. We'll catch up tomorrow, and I hope you do. And if you're listening on Spotify, thank you. Shabs Inevitable with a 5. There's gonna be a Cooper here. Yes, there is. My light turned off. What did I miss? Been busy moving out. Well, where are you moving out to? But had to come here and say, hi, where are you moving to, Shabs? I love Jez's beard. I'm jealous. Also, Kupo, there it is. Jez didn't like the picture I used for the promo stuff.
Dude, I hate that picture so much. Do you know another backstory of that picture?
No.
I was like...
You got molested?
Not quite. I got molested by the photographer, I guess, but it was a corporate event.
Oh yeah.
And it was early morning. I was in Florida for this conference thing with the company.
Yeah.
And I just come down from my hotel room. I was knackered. It was super early in the morning. I'd just flown, and they were like, "Oh, come here. We're doing corporate headshots." And there was a blue background and the photographer there. And I was like, "No." And I'm someone who wears my emotions on my sleeve. So you look in that picture and look at my face. That is the vision of how I felt at that moment in time. So it's like a moment in history. Jet lag.
Oh, yeah.
Not willing to do a photograph. Tired as fuck.
But the picture's fine.
I hate that picture, man.
I don't even know what you don't. I look at it. I'm like, what's wrong with it? Is your beard too ginger?
Themselves differently, like.
What is it? It looks fine to me, man.
I know it's a Viking gene. Isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, but it looks nice. I thought it looked nice.
Thank you. It's Manscaped helping me there. Code XP2.
Oh shit! Was it XP2? Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask you what the code. Of course, you know, Manscaped. Your Manscaped ad is like Israeli propaganda. When I think Manscaped, I think XP2. Like they're connected. Manscaped XP2. That's why it's just the code is in my. You've ingrained it in my head.
I do like doing the ad reads. The Manscaped is so good to us, and their products are really good. So it's the perfect sponsor, you know. Because we get offered sponsors like what we used to during the pandemic when there was loads of money and loads of clicks flying around.
Oh yeah.
Brand got he got all of them, like Raid Shadow Legends. We were doing the food promos and all this kind of stuff. But when you don't feel passionate about the product, like Raid Shadow Legend, who gives a fuck about Raid Shadow Legend?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't fake it. But like Manscaped is just so good, don't need to fake it.
Yeah,
it is
it's true.
Awesome, man.
You need that stuff as well. Manscaped do some good stuff. I've got their stuff. Shabs, thank you for the £2 super because I meant beard, not bread, Kupo. And Shabs again with another £2. Huh?
I think you might have been too loud there. You clipped a bit, or maybe my headphones. I don't know.
Or maybe it might have been me. I'm not sure. From one part of East London to another. Oh shit, Cooper's still in East London ends. Get your Flat jacket ready. I see you in chat, Epic Treasure. Yeah, so like Concord, man, like that. Look, whether or not, if it's 400 million or whatnot, I'm gonna say brace yourself. We're gonna find out so much about what's gonna happen to Firewalk, and they're pretty much gonna be on the chopping block. But it also shows.
Bad, man. I feel bad for him.
I do feel bad for the developers.
You're giving me shit. You're giving me shit for having empathy. What is this, man? They did not want to make a bad game.
Of course they did.
They did not want to make a bad game, dude.
Yeah, but they permitted an environment of toxic positivity, and that's a weak-minded mindset that you let pervade in there, which allows.
I just would have been going in there and like, look at Stellar Blade. The characters need to look like this.
Yeah,
and you make $1 billion.
Good luck trying to convince people that. Like we saw recently with Dragon Age, that's coming under fire as well for like some of the representation stuff. You know, you have the trans scars stuff. I'm sure David Jaffe last week would have had a lot to talk about it. And like that's what a lot of Western game devs are preaching for. I don't care if that's something you want to put in there. I'm just gonna roll my eyes and then just do something else. Like everyone has the different views, right? But then I saw like the maximum you can put the tits out, and they're tiny. I got bigger tits than the women that in that game. I'm like, bro, I tweeted out like Paris Lily's tits are bigger.
Honestly, this is the problem with representation. If you're gonna if representation is great, right?
Yeah.
You've got to represent everyone.
Exactly.
A lot of people, myself included, I ain't skinny, man. Let me play a fat dude. That's why I really loved the druids in Diablo 4. Like, oh my god, that's me. I could literally make me. Fat dude, ginger beard. It was awesome. So like, if you're gonna do representation, go the full way. You know, don't just like do the tick boxes for you know for what
tiny
you know, what's
minorities
trending right now. You've got to do everyone. And I think I've seen some like you know, I've got some of my friends and family, you know, the ladies have been complaining about exactly what you just mentioned, you know, because the people want to make themselves in these games. But I think if you do representation, you've got to do the whole thing, you know. But I don't know. It's their game at the end of the day.
Look, they could do that, and that's fine. I just feel like it's just so much of that's been used as a, oh, look, you know, it's fine. Like if David Jaffe was here and David Jaffe's son, I forget which way they transition, but Jaffe's son, that would work with his son, because they would have had the surgery, they would have the scars, and you know, if I'm like, well, I want to feel like making myself in the game, and you know, I want that. Fair enough.
It's awesome. I'm all for that.
But then what about everyone else? Give us the big booties, bro. Like literally, they're like, and that's where the problem lies, because I can tell you, based on some of the, it would not surprise me. I can't tell you, but it wouldn't surprise me in the conversation. They were like, we can't. You know, it's all the Microsoft's guidelines on this. We can't have overly too big tits or, you know, like curvaceous things. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, who are you?
They just approved Genshin Impact. We're all good at Xbox, I think.
What, Genshin Impact? Has it got tits? It's like an anime game. I don't even know.
Yeah, some of the characters, man.
Is it?
Some of them.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the game, dude. He's rolling for the characters, the waifus, man. Gotta look at the spread, man.
That game's a bit too incelly for me, so I don't play it. Parasite 82 Green, thank you for the 5. Baby Steps, Lego Horizon, and Concord shut down after 10 days, and then revealed the new Pro console for $700 and £700. You poor ponies. In fact, I want to go use that super chat. Thank you, Parasite, for the PlayStation Anniversary console that got announced. This, like, I think the console still looks ugly, but what happened remarkably, they slapped a bit of grey, and everyone was okay with the Pro consoles all of a sudden. Well, to a degree, to the point where people would pay some serious amounts. Now, I like the controller, but it tastes so different. But this seemed to switch opinions quite a bit on the Pro. What do you think about the PlayStation 30th Anniversary Pro Edition console, Jez?
I mean, I'm someone who's got a lot of nostalgia for the PS1. I got a PS1 when my parents got me a PS1 because I think was it the PS1 I got the Super Nintendo? I can't remember. Maybe, when did the PS1 come out? 95?
PS1 came out 96, 95, yeah. PS1 release.
Yeah.
Let me check. 1995, yeah. Damn.
Yeah, 95. So
September 1995.
Yeah. And when was the Super Nintendo come out? Super Nintendo? Google it.
Super SNES release date
Yeah, SNES.
in the UK, 92.
92. Yeah, okay, so it was a PS1 then. I was just double checking my memory there because my memory's pretty bad. But like, I have a lot of nostalgia for the PS1. I think part of it is because around that time I was ill in hospital with sepsis, and like the doctor was saying, "Oh, he's got 2 hours to live if we don't get him to hospital," and all this kind of shit. And I was fucking right there. I was a little kid, and dude's scaring the shit out of me. And but like, as a gift for surviving, my parents got me a PS1. So, and they could not afford it. So I have a lot of nostalgia for that stuff. So when I saw the grey, the colorway, I was like, oh yes, that is majestic. But and then you think about it a bit more, and it's like, well, actually, all the games are coming to PC. I've already got a 4080 PC. Don't really need this, and it's also costs $1 bajillion. But oh man, people were checking me on Twitter earlier because I tweeted something like, IGN wrote an editorial that was like, is this nostalgia going too far or something like that? And I tweeted like, well, is anyone really going to get FOMO from this because they're only making 12,000 units? But apparently it's the whole package is only getting 12,000 units, like the bundle. Whereas like you will still be able to buy them separately and stuff. In a more mass marketed way. But it's capitalism, isn't it? If there's demand, people will buy it. I saw my colleague, the lovely Genbox360, got a 6,000 likes viral tweet this week saying Microsoft should do the green transparent colorway for the Xbox Series X, like the OG Xbox had a transparent green colorway. Got 6,000 likes. So maybe that's what will save Xbox in the console war is the nostalgia play.
Nostalgia bait. Speaking of nostalgia bait, you did also talk about. So I tweeted out, which you responded to. I said I played a platinumed Astrobot last week, and great game. I had great fun with it, but I would not give it a 94. Like, I don't understand the 90. Like, based on the quality of the game, I would have said that would be an 89 to 90 at max meta game. And the nostalgia bait. Like, you may argue the nostalgia is a big part of it. How can you divorce that from the game? That's a big part of the appeal, and I will completely understand that. Again, this is just my view. You also said in response, oh, yeah, but It Takes Two, I was comparing that. I'm like, and the reason why I compared It Takes Two with Astrobot is because that is also a platformer. That won Game of the Year, and it's sitting at an 88 Metacritic. And I'm like, sorry, what? Comparatively, based on the ingenuity of the design and stuff, what they did with that game, the level design and everything, like, It Takes Two for me was so much better as a platformer. Like, there's so much ingenuity with that I thought, and again, I really enjoyed Astrobot to the point where I platinumed it. I just thought, well, because everyone's talking about Astrobot being Game of the Year nominee this year, and I'm like, like, that's me personally. It's me personally. And then you responded, go later, well, it doesn't have nostalgia bait. And there is that element of why nostalgia is so important for gamers. And it has and I'm privy to nostalgia very strongly, as we all are. And it's just the point I was making is nostalgia is a very strong force for us. Like, it changed a previously ugly looking console to a really nice one. You just slapped some gray. You're talking about Jen's tweet. Yeah. Translucent Xbox green console. Everyone's really happy.
6,000
fickle
likes,
gamers. We're fickle gamers.
I think it's perfectly valid. Like when we get to our Pokemon arguments in a minute, I famously got Rand I blackmailed Rand to play Pokemon a game which he has no nostalgia for whatsoever because he's, you know, he's so old that he just missed the boat on that. and he hated it. He absolutely hated it because he had no nostalgia for it. And like, that was part of like me starting to realize that, you know, nostalgia drives. Well, I knew that already, but like nostalgia drives like so much of what I enjoy in gaming. You know, like I'm eternally pissed that Monster Hunter Stories is not coming to Xbox because I have a lot of nostalgia for Monster Hunter, and you know, I've got a lot of nostalgia for Final Fantasy. So that's been something I've been pissed off about as well. Even though, like, you know, GameIndustry.biz put out an analysis saying that like only 30 to 35-year-old gamers really care about this game, or 30 to 40-year-old gamers really care about this game. And it's like, you know, when you sort of when you curate nostalgia well, you become Nintendo. You know,
very good point.
Nintendo has delivered this insatiable, consistent drip feed of nostalgia, and in ways that, you know, they're the envy of the industry. They are the Disney of gaming, and Disney as well. They're driven by nostalgia. You know, the whole companies, and I think that's valid. I think it's perfectly valid. You know, as long as you aren't toxic with it. You know, like you know, attacking someone who doesn't like your game because they have no nostalgia for it. For example, like Rand hates Pokemon. He hates it. You know, and I understand why. Sword and Shield, if you take away the brand of Pokemon from some of the more recent Nintendo Pokemon games, they're 5 out of 10 Metacritic games at best. They are not great games at all. You know, and I freely admit, I put like 200 hours in Sword and Shield, playing PvP and stuff like that, building up my little squad and, you know, doing the IV and the EV training and all that bullshit, you know, hardcore in it. And it is 90% nostalgia driving that, because like the games are ugly, they're very limited in features, they're brain dead easy, all that kind of stuff. And you know, and Warcraft 2, like I played Warcraft through some of its worst expansions driven by nostalgia.
Same.
I think
I went to WoW Classic because of nostalgia. I only went back to WoW.
Brings you joy, it's fine.
No, honestly, a lot of it is fun, you know, nostalgia and fun, and kind of relating to memories of old, which is not, and it's not a scathing criticism of people who do rely on nostalgia, but that can really just form critical opinions as well. And I think Astrobot is big evidence of that. And I'm not saying that's a wrong thing, but it definitely is a factor into weighing into why Astrobot was reviewed so well. But, you know, great game. If it wins Game of the Year, I'm like, okay. I don't think it deserves it. But then you ask me what else deserves it over it, and I'd struggle a little bit there. So I don't know.
It's been a pretty light year for new. Game of the Year for me is probably the fucking Elden Ring.
Shadow of Erdtree, yeah.
I mean, you know, what else can you say? And then
for me, it's Space Marines,
is the Warcraft expansion.
Oh yeah, everyone's loving that one. Everyone's loving that.
They've fucking nailed it. It's so addictive again. They fucking nailed it. But
I'm not touching that.
But I'm playing it right now. You didn't even know.
Oh, bro, you've done that very well. Very well. Normally you're looking in the freaking sky like I am when I'm playing games.
I'm playing on my PC. Which is down it. My TV is like all the way up there. You know.
Okay.
I'm playing it right now.
Let me do the super chats. Replicant with a 5. Jim Ryan threw the service game's hand grenade into the. Ooh, what have I done here? Oh, Jazz.
I just started streaming.
Don't ruin that! What you do? I can't.
Did I fuck up your whole feed?
Yes, it did.
Can't you show the people my great Shadow Priest?
Wait, awesome, let me see if I can do a solo. How does that work?
Broken
to a certain degree. Wait, I can't do. Wait, chat. I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'll turn it off.
Please.
But I'll fix it. Sorry. But yeah, it's nostalgia, man. It's a hell of a drug, baby, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's perfectly fine. But you know, you have to be aware of it. Like if a company's exploiting your nostalgia and selling you something that sucks, even though it's like your nostalgia, and you have to start to become a little bit more critical of it. Like, when we get more into the Palworld stuff, I love the fact that Palworld was giving some competition to Pokemon, at least in some kind of sideways ancillary kind of way, because they're so complacent. They have no competition, so they can sell these crappy games. Like, all the bugs that were with Arceus, for example, and Sword and Shield when it launched, the performance issues, they can get away with that because they have no competition. And rather than make a better Pokemon game and offer higher quality stuff to make sure, Palworld's never going to compete with Pokemon in any realistic universe anyway. But they'd rather sue than fucking compete. That pisses me off.
We'll talk about that next, very briefly. Before that, Replicant with the 5, because Jim Ryan threw the service games hand grenade into the room, then retired in inverted commas. Do you think he retired? It seems like he got ousted more and more with all these series of failures that happen, Jez.
I don't know, man. Oftentimes when like someone high up in a company says they're retired,
they're stepping down.
There's always a little bit more to the studio. There's always a little bit more to the story. Mikey Barr, for example.
Mikey Barr definitely
stepping away from Blizzard. I don't think so. He fucking loves Blizzard. That was his dream job. There's no way Mike stepped down willingly.
And he had beef with people at Xbox for ages. Even at one point, we did an Xbox sizzle reel kind of trailer that we used to do, and one of them, I won't say who, exec said, "We would love to retweet this, but it's awkward for us because it contains an ex-executive." It was Mike Ybarra. So it was like, come on, you're so petty. You hate him so much, it would make it awkward because he was in the trailer for 1 second. That was weird. So they had some major beef with Mike Ybarra.
Yeah, I'd love to know the full story there. I mean, I have no information for certain on that either way, but I know that Mike loved that company. I know Mike was obsessed with Warcraft, as obsessed as I am with it.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for the dude, man.
Yeah.
I'd feel gutted if that was me. If I was running Blizzard, that'd be a dream. I wouldn't do any other job. I'd do that till I was dead. I'd stay there forever. And that's nostalgia,
Yeah, that's nostalgia. Well, it was also the legacy of that studio. The Parasite 82 green with a 5, because the reason companies are losing money so fast is, surprise, surprise, most gamers are men. Warhammer, Space Marines 2, and Helldivers 2 is no fluke. He does raise a good point about Warhammer is killing it in sales. It's probably their best-selling game, I think they were saying ever or something. They're astounded by the performance of this game. And it's well,
I'm really happy for the studio. The game's fantastic. I love it.
Such a good game.
I haven't finished it yet because, again, addicted to WoW. But
yeah,
I just did the mission where you have to shoot the flying Tyranid things off the chains of this giant lift.
Oh yeah,
the level
crazy.
Design, I was just like, I don't know Warhammer 40k lore that well, but it's just this flying cathedral city in fucking space. And it makes me want to learn more about the universe.
Bro,
it's just
same.
I've never seen anything like this. It's fucking nuts, man.
It's mad, bro.
And they did such a good job. That game, really good job.
They killed it. I don't know anything about Warhammer. I didn't realize how cool the universe is. Skulls and everything. And I love skulls. So it's just so cool, man. The little babies flying around with skulls smelted into their head. And you're like, what the flip is this? Yeah.
They have this. I know some bits and pieces about it, because my brother's really into it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in a group chat with him and a family friend who's also really into it. Sometimes they have these conversations and I'll ask random questions about it, but some of the lore in that game is so fucked up, man.
Bro, what is up with the babies? Apparently they're like slavers. They're just from babies. They put them in the workforce. It's crazy.
Dude, they are not the good guys. There are no good guys in
this universe.
And
it's crazy.
There's no good guys in the universe. It's fucked up. It's mental.
I love that.
In the grim, dark future, there's only war or whatever. That's the saying, right? But it's fucking awesome, man. I really enjoyed it. What I played of it so far.
You're so good, man.
And my camera's fucked again. What the fuck, man.
So you can sort it out. You can sort it out. Let me catch up with chat. I think I've read all the super chats. Yes, I have. I'm organized. As you're sorting that out, let's transition into Nintendo suing what's it called? Not Palworld developers, what they call Pocket Pair, for Palworld, because Nintendo's Nintendo, and Broken Games HDR did something similar today, this week to FritangaPlays by copyright striking him, which was not nice. I reached out to both.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so look at evil laugh. So yeah, BG, he was in the wrong. I sent him a voice note in his Discord publicly and in privately. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. It was fair use. And to be honest, if he let that, so what happened was he struck FritangaPlays' video, which is, he just barely uses it, or uses his podcast, which is brilliant. You had Jack Move, who was going mental at PlayStation fanboys or PlayStation guys excited for the PS5 Pro, and he was just asking, what games? Are you not going to ask for any games? And they were just naming third-party stuff. He's like, what games are you buying this for? And he goes mental. And then he just switches, and he just punches his camera. It is so freaking hilarious. That's why I love Jack Move. And then BG, FritangaPlays used that in his video. Edited and whatnot. There was no egregious stuff. It's all fair use. And then BG just copyright strike him because he goes, I don't like him. No, boom. And I'm like, you can't do that. One, you'll get your channel murked because you do false claims like that. Then you'll get murked. So, but what that did was it caused FritangaPlays to get a strike for the first time ever on his YouTube channel. So you had to go through
you can appeal, right?
He is appealing it, is trying it. It's a stressful affair, especially for someone like Fritanga, who primarily does YouTube. That's his main profession. Like, for me, it doesn't really, like, this is a side thing, but, you know, BG's overstepped the bounds there. But BG was publicly not just even, he like goes, yeah, I'm petty. Yeah, I don't like him. Boom,
I was gonna say I'm that fucking petty as well.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm really that petty.
We all have that pettiness inside of us, but I thought, look, as YouTubers, you have certain etiquettes, man. Like, there's certain grounds you can cuss each other and all of that, but you're doing that, then you're calling upon like the YouTube death squad against you, because you can't do this shit like that. Then you're gonna get ostracized to shit, and you're gonna be victim to a lot of abuse. And you will probably get murked for abusing, fair use.
I'm watching. Do you know the Act Man?
Oh, the Axeman versus...
He's having a very public war right now.
With that grifting guy. What's his name? Andy Pants.
I don't fucking know. There's so many grifters now. Ran sent me a picture earlier where it was like, what was it? It was a grifter video, and it was like a couple of weeks before launch. They put out a video saying, "Oh my God, Space Marine 2's going woke." And then like after the game launched, it was like, oh, Space Marine pisses off woke game journalist. It's like, fucking hell. At least try when you're grifting.
But his grift was so obvious because Actman called him out on it because he had content saying the very opposite of what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was getting, bro, this guy's channel, Andy Pants, like, some of the sentiment I kind of agreed, but then when you watch the content, you're like, this guy's blatantly, he doesn't believe what he's actually saying. And then you've got content of him saying the opposite. Like you say.
This is slightly off topic, but like, I swear to God, right? And there's been studies on this, like, with like dictators and stuff, where they eventually start believing their own bullshit.
Yeah.
And they become so confused that they grift themselves, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and they start like Soviet Union and Stalin like started believing his own propaganda, and he himself couldn't tell what was real anymore. Yeah. So, you know, it's a fucking rabbit hole, man. It's a mental illness, I think. In some ways. It
happens to a lot of actors who commit to a role, and they'll like obviously adopt a certain character trait that the role demands, and then what happens is that kind of, because they absorb it, and if it's particularly negative role, it's very hard for them to detach themselves from that, and it becomes almost like a part of them, and it just really spirals.
Yeah.
That's why they're all on these
crazy,
drugs and antidepressants, because it's crazy. But yeah, man, like that Andy Pants guy was grifting like mad. And there's so many grifters out there. You can actually, Dreamcast guy is a big grifter, like almost like admitted grifter. He admits it in public almost when he's trying not to. You've got a lot of people who just say bollocks. But that's them. The YouTube wars is like, it can be a soapbox, so drama in itself. But Nintendo's no stranger of drama as well, because they just went out and just sued Palworld, not just immediately, but after some time. As I was joking that let them build the money and then sue them. Do you think this is going to succeed? And they did. But do you think that Nintendo will be successful? Like they're doing they're on the grounds of patents. And what patents are they claiming?
So I don't know the patent they're claiming. I'm not even sure it's fully public yet. There's a lot of speculation about what the patent actually is.
Yeah.
So some people have said that it's specifically to do with, it might be to do with, they landed a patent for what's the game called? Pokemon Arceus. I never know how to pronounce that because Arceus sounds a bit like arse to me.
Yeah.
But I often say Arceus, but I think that's wrong because I think most people say Arceus. Arceus being the god of the Pokemon universe, from what I remember. But anyway, in that game, they patented the ability to sort of throw a Pokeball in the 3D space and capture a Pokemon or a creature into a ball, right? So this is fucking petty as shit for one thing. And it's just Nintendo being embarrassed and realizing, oh, we can't nuke them on the design because then we'll open up a can of worms because of how many designs we've ripped off over the years. So we'll open up ourselves to, people litigating us against that aspect of our crappy games. And then there's also the other aspect, which is like, so we'll get them on this instead. And it really, it pisses me off because I think patenting a game mechanic, it sets such a terrible precedent. And lots of companies have patents on game mechanics. Activision does, Microsoft does, EA does. They all fucking do. Like even like OG companies like Mad Catz and Scuff, who used to make controllers in the 90s, they have patents on all sorts of weird aspects of gaming related to all sorts of things, but none of them really pursue it. Because they know if they do, they open up this sort of patent world war.
Yeah.
Where like every company could just be like, oh, well, if Nintendo's going to phone home on that and make millions of dollars, and we're going to start calling in our patents on being able to click on an NPC or some other bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Right? So Nintendo is playing with fucking fire here because I guarantee they're probably infringing some of Microsoft's patents in some regards. And then other companies are infringing Nintendo's patents in other regards because Nintendo's probably got tons of other patents as well. So this is purely petty, short-sighted, and I hope it goes very, very, very badly for them. But I don't think it will. And the reason I don't think it will is because I've been speaking to some people who, I'm preparing a report on this about what it means and all that kind of stuff because, Palworld has a lot of passionate fans. It's just still a niche kind of game. But it has a lot of passionate fans. In Windows Central, we've got like a fairly big Palworld audience because we covered the game to hell back in January. So Google's like, oh, this website really knows about Palworld. So yeah, we cover Palworld. It's our algorithm, So I'm preparing a report on this, and I'm talking to some lawyers and also game devs who understand the landscape. And from what I understand, it's Japanese patent law is basically a racket. Is basically how it's been described to me. And they'll probably settle out of court. And any ruling wouldn't be globally binding anyway, necessarily.
Yeah.
Because
IP laws are, you've got like, I think they call them Madrid protocols. I don't do much IP, but I always get IP questions from some clients. I think they call them Madrid protocols. And some signatories, the US and the UK are one. And the idea, because you're working in a global economy, they apply it globally. Otherwise, how does IP work in a commercialized global economy? But even then, there's so many complications with that. With this one, like, I don't even know what the details of the patent are, but I think the general takeaway is exactly what you say. That what you're doing is opening Pandora's box of patent wars, and it becomes inherently inoperable, and it always boils down to the relative bargaining power of the two parties. Nintendo's a gigantic corporation compared to Palworld, which was Pocket Pair is a bunch of people, developers who learned to develop on the job to make this game that was a breakout success. So I would advise them to lawyer up as well.
It's just shitty and scummy and bullying for one thing. But the idea of a big corporation like Nintendo and Pokemon being an invincible tour de force that even if they release a 3 out of 10 game, the games media is still gonna give it 9 out of fucking 10 because it's Pokemon. You know, and infinite money that franchise has generated, and they go after Pocket Pair. Not only do they go after Pocket Pair, but they wait a few months until they've started, you know, pulling in some money, and they've just done a deal for cross media with Sony. So like, you've got Xbox who bought the game to the world via Idea Xbox investment, and now Sony wants to bring the game to a broader audience with an anime investment or something like that. I don't know what their plans are there, but Sony's licensed Palworld for the big screen, right?
Yeah.
So like, you want to hope that maybe Microsoft and PlayStation would go to, or Sony rather, would go to bat for Palworld, because of the precedent that Nintendo are potentially going to set here.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to this being specifically in Japan. Like, if Pocket Pair was based in America, no fucking way would they even try this. Or Europe, no fucking way would they try this.
I think you're right.
It's because there is a from what I've been told, there is an aspect of basically corruption here, where they're basically going to extort them for a royalty or some kind of backhanded deal, some way, and a capitulation. You know, in some form, some way, shape, or the other. I think it's just pure scum. I think Nintendo is a shit company. I have no respect for them at all, and I think they suck, and everything they do is shit. That's how I feel about Nintendo. Fuck Nintendo.
I know what I'm clipping today. Damn. Strong words from Jez Corden.
It pisses me off, man. It pisses me off, dude. Pisses me off. And I'd be saying the same thing if it was Sony, or, you know, you go after a tiny indie company over something like that. Yeah. It's despicable, man. It's fucking despicable. So fuck Nintendo. I hope they lose. I hope Microsoft sends its fucking lawyers, and I hope Sony and Microsoft send all their lawyers and protect Palworld, and ultimately protect the gaming industry, because this could open a Pandora's box in a universe that Nintendo doesn't want to fucking live in. That's my perception of it right now. So
the lawyer in me wants to see the details of what they're alleging before I go out and say, like, okay, like, there may be a very specific pattern, because there was one where there were the character model wireframe designs or whatever modeling were remarkably similar to Nintendo's thing. I saw some shit and I'm like, I don't know. I saw
some of that stuff too. The Lucario model, right? Like, I
don't know what that is, but yeah.
Man, you can't do them for like that, because again, and even Nintendo themselves haven't even tried to do that, because you go back far enough, you look at Dragon Quest, and you know, you look at Akira Toriyama designs. A lot of those fucking dudes look very, very similar to Pokemon, and it's just kind of like, well, you know, if you're gonna start going down this route, Nintendo, then you're open Pandora's box. I think they can get away with this because of the patent stuff, but
yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head on just kind of your summary of why this is happening. Japan has horrendously been close-minded on things like copyright, almost to the point where Nintendo's are completely not only going after indies like Pocket Pair, but going after individual creators who want to share their experiences of Nintendo games on YouTube. They are horribly old-fashioned, so I don't think they deserve the benefit of the doubt in that regard. And you hit the nail on the head there. And I wanted to see. I'm looking forward to see how this pans out. But I think you're right. I think this will be most likely dealt with, like a lot of these disputes, behind closed doors, just like Fritanga and BG's beef. They're talking in DMs now. So it's that kind of thing. But you know what? Hey, I appreciate your strong views, and it's nice. Nintendo do take the piss. They get a lot of carte blanche because they deliver great games. But you know, they like
Debatable
Chris.
on the game front.
Was that sorry?
Debatable on great games, but go on.
Oh wow. You really hate Nintendo. Well, I'm not gonna let you.
I just think if their games had no nostalgia attached to them, they would not Metacritic that high. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry, man.
I will agree
Zelda,
with you.
all that shit. If it wasn't Nintendo, if it was Ubisoft putting it out, the game was identical, but it wasn't Zelda, it wouldn't get that Metacritic.
I agree with you.
Sorry.
I really loved Breath of the Wild. 97. I'm like, no. Like even as a Zelda fan, like based on the dungeons alone, they were so shit compared. I'm not talking about the caves. I'm talking about the dungeons, the 4 bosses. They weren't even remotely close to Ocarina of Time. They were like the biggest weaknesses there. And then you 97 Mario, like great game, but it's like 97 again. The journalists really have this Nintendo. I do think that with a lot, and this
that's not Nintendo's fault at the end of the day.
No.
But yeah.
But that's just my view on what journalists typically from big publications. So this applies not just Nintendo, not just PlayStation, like even IP level. Like some Xbox games, I'm like, that's a bit higher than I would have given it.
Too much of a pass, man. I remember when Palworld first came out, a load of game journalists were like, "Oh my god, it's a ripoff," and they were rooting for Nintendo to sue them. But now they've actually done it. Now they've actually done it, and it's not about the designs; it's about this pattern stuff. They've been very quiet, and I know they've been quiet because they know the precedent this sets. If Nintendo succeeds in suing someone for a game design mechanic, that opens a Pandora's box that will fuck the game industry.
Yeah,
and
it won't allow to happen. It won't happen. Trust me, bro. It was no way. If it happens, that will send shockwaves across the industry, and it just won't be workable. Nintendo can't even Nintendo can't. It's just not workable for them. They'll be ostracized completely. It won't be. They'll be drowning in litigation. They do this.
I think
on the year they're going to reveal this new console. Like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing bad energy out?
Enforceable outside of Japan. Yeah, it's not enforceable outside of Japan. I think is the key thing here, from what I've been told anyway. But like, I am a lawyer, and I am certainly, I don't know for sure like the ins and outs of all this stuff, but I don't think you should be able to patent game design mechanics specifically. Yeah. And if you do, then I don't think you should be so nastily aggressive with the way that you handle that kind of stuff. If it's one thing if it's like, a game that's exploiting children or something, and you think like, oh well, we've got a patent on this, we can stop them from doing it. You should use your patents for good, not evil. And and Nintendo's using it for evil here.
That's good. That's a
and
great point,
they've got so much of a precedent here for doing this kind of shit, like suing like small groups of people who want to put on a local Smash Brothers tournament, and there was that dude who I can't remember exactly what he did. I think he invented a piracy chip or something for the Nintendo Switch, and they sued him so badly. He now owes Nintendo a portion of his income for life. I have no idea how that even vaguely equates to fair. I'm not sure what universe that equates to fair, because Nintendo don't need that money. They just want to send a message and ruin this dude's fucking life. Piracy is illegal, but it's like, you want to ruin this dude's fucking life over it?
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's insane to me.
When that happened, I photoshopped Shigeru Miyamoto's head over a Yakuza member, like boss man Shigeru. By the way, Shigeru Miyamoto, I know from someone who worked at Nintendo for 20 years, is a bit of a dick. I've heard that like really like not nice. That's what I've heard.
No. I mean, I was speaking to a game dev, a publisher source about this situation, and they said to me that one of the perceptions that people have on Nintendo in the industry is that they're a legal firm with a game dev subdivision. That's what.
No. Nintendo, yeah. I will say this: if you look at their old like interviews, like their spirit is gaming. That they have that rooted in them on the creativity side, backed up by horrible ethics and a drive, and the way they view things and the consumer and all of that value and all of that. But at their heart, they are a gaming company, because I think their track record, you may not like their games, but I think that in terms of game design and in just looking out of the box, out of the big three, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, they are the ones I would say that would safeguard the spirit of gaming more than any of the others. That's what I would say. It's just the way their design is. They just tap into the core of it. Nostalgia or not, the feels are there, and then their design speaks.
No, it's fair.
Minus the cardboard box thing.
Like I said earlier, nostalgia is completely valid. Like, I was a Sega kid, so I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for
I was
Nintendo.
a Sega
like,
kid. Yeah,
full transparency. So,
I was a huge Sega kid. I was console warring when I was a Sega kid with my neighbor who's American. He had a Nintendo. I was Sega. I was Sonic versus Mario. I was console warring like a shit when I was taking a shit like in diapers. Trust me, man. I was Team Sega. And
I was too, but then Pokemon came out, and I absolutely loved that fucking game. Like, I had a Game Boy, and just for Pokemon.
Yeah.
But like, I often just didn't associate Pokemon with wider Nintendo, I guess. I never really got into Mario or Zelda that much. I played Metroid. I love Metroid. F-Zero.
F-Zero X.
Ever.
I love that.
Street. Do you ever play Street Racer? That was Nintendo, right?
Street
Love that game.
No. I don't remember that.
It was a British kind of. It was a more adult kart game, Mario Kart game. You could like smack people with baseball bats in that game. I loved it.
That was Road Rash. Do you remember Road Rash? You could do that. That was amazing.
Yeah, I remember Road Rash.
Love that game.
Street Racer was like it was like Road Rash with cars, basically.
Oh, really? I love those kind of games.
On the SNES back in the day. But yeah, I
Nintendo's Nintendo.
I ain't a Nintendo fan, but I don't begrudge Nintendo fans at all. Like, I've got a lot of friends who are really, really big into Nintendo.
What about the Switch 2? What about that?
This is just so scummy, man.
Oh,
now, Switch 2,
oh,
it's kind of interesting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
I like that a bit there, maybe. But Switch 2, yeah, so that kind of leaked, or allegedly leaked. I've seen some people say it's legit. I've seen some people say it's not legit. Like I said, I'm a bit out of the loop this week because I've been on vacation, so I don't know if the leak's fully legit. But we know Switch 2 exists, right?
Yeah. And apparently this year it's gonna be revealed.
Yeah, I'm interested in Switch 2, just to see, because I think it'll inform a little bit about what Microsoft's going to do with its handheld, for example.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty much at a point. What?
How's that going to inform what Microsoft's going to do with their handheld?
Well, one thing that I've heard the Switch 2 does from dev sources is that it has, this thing like what the PS5 Pro has, which is this concept of super resolution, which
AI upscaling.
So it's AI upscaling or machine learning upscaling. It's not truly AI, I think, but it uses I'm interested in ultimately the method they're going to use for this. Is it going to have a dedicated chip with that's optimized for tops and stuff to do the machine learning, or is it going to have they're going to just put some of that on the GPU, or how they're going to do it? Because I'm pretty much at a point now where I know that Microsoft is working on a gaming handheld, and Xbox gaming handheld, not a Windows one, an Xbox gaming handheld, and I have no idea what that looks like yet. I don't even know the code name yet, but I'm at a point now where I'm just like, there's way too much smoke here for this not to be at least the project they're working on right now. I ain't put a full report out yet because I really want to have a document to hand before I start reporting on that shit properly. But I'm at a point now where I just believe the handheld exists.
Yeah, so I think we all know it definitely exists.
Yeah, it's just like open secret at this point, I think, to some degree.
So then how does that reconcile with a Switch 2, which was rumored to be a the powers between a PlayStation 4 Pro, they say, and a Series S, somewhere there, around that power mark? Because a lot of people saying, Jez, they're saying you know, now that Microsoft's out of direct competition, what you could have is Nintendo and third parties actually making games for Nintendo Switch. And I had this massive argument with, not argument, but debate with Colt and Zorka, your best friend.
Who, sorry?
Zorka87. You guys blocked each other and you were saying shit about you.
You said shit about me, so...
Yeah, I know. Fair enough. Honestly, fair enough. But these Colt and Zorka...
I don't like two-faced people, man. Like,
No.
to be nice to my face and talk shit behind my back. It's like, fuck you, man. That's enough said.
Was he nice to you? To your face?
Yeah.
Zorka. Anyway.
Fake, man.
Yeah.
Fake bitches, bro.
Yeah, the standard maneuvers. But these two were saying that, you know, third parties are gonna... I was like, Colt Eastwood, this is just copying from you because you just want Nintendo to do well because Xbox is bowed out and you really want PlayStation to suffer, which I do as well. But, like, is it really... Do you really think third parties... They're saying, look, Nintendo doesn't need to cater for third parties. Third parties will start developing for the Switch 2 anyway. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I think Nintendo will just double down on its strengths. And I wonder if third parties will actually end up developing for their multi-plats for Switch 2. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I think people are probably being a bit optimistic about how powerful this thing's going to be. Because I think Nintendo still wants to hit like a relatively lower price point. I don't think Nintendo's going to gun for like the high end. I don't think it's going to be... You know, you got to look at how much some of the non-subsidized handhelds are priced right now. Like the Asus ROG Ally is like, I think it's €5.99 off the top of my head. And the Lenovo Legion Go is even more expensive because it's got, you know, a bigger panel. Even though I would say the screen's not as good, but funnily enough. But I don't think Nintendo's going to gun for that kind of price point with this. I think they're probably going to go for a lower end chip than what some people probably expect. And I don't think you're probably going to see Steam Deck like performance out of this thing. I don't think you're going to see Series S performance out of this thing. I think that's really fucking optimistic. I could be wrong. I could be really wrong. Like maybe they've got like a really great, you know, super resolution algorithm they're going to put in there or something like that to mitigate some of that stuff. But I would be shocked if it gets anywhere near the Series S, genuinely. But so there's that aspect for one thing. But the other aspect, I suppose, is like I say, it'll inform, I think, to some degree, how Microsoft's going to approach this, because Microsoft's obviously going to look at how well this does in the market, how they're going to position it, how they're going to price it, what kind of battery life it has, what kind of chips it uses, what kind of features it has, and I think it will inform Microsoft on some of the detailing there. They've probably, like, their engineers are probably, you know, chilling there with Nintendo Switches all over the place as part of their, you know, their research and stuff. And obviously Nintendo is the leader in this space. They have been for a really long time. If you go back to like Game Boy and DS and stuff, Nintendo DS is a legendary device, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that it will inform to some degree how Microsoft's going to approach it. Because I also think Microsoft is going to leave the high end to the third parties. I think they're going to be like, okay, well, rather than go all the way up to, you know, something like the Z1 Extreme or the Z2 Extreme, which is, you know, pretty much confirmed now for next year. So, like, you're probably going to get an Asus ROG Ally 2 next year, which is going to be even more powerful than the one that's out there now. Okay. I don't think Microsoft is going to... I think Microsoft's going to leave the high end to their OEM partners.
Okay.
And they're going to offer something more comparable to a Steam Deck, I think. Where it's, like, better for retro games, super resolution maybe on the less intensive games, and then, you know, maybe some of the higher end games just don't offer a really particularly great experience. But I could be wrong, you know, and I think, like, we'll see the kind of games that do support the Switch 2, what you can expect for that. Because I'll tell you, man, like, even on the ROG Ally 2, God of War ain't a great experience. You know, I've tried every kind of resolution, upscaling, frame generation, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's a particularly representative experience on that device.
Oh, okay.
It's not exactly optimized for it, but You know, these devices can do a lot, but there's a hard limit on what you can put inside a handheld right now. And I don't think that's going to change in a big way with the Switch 2. But so yeah, I'm intrigued to see how much juice they can get out of it, and that'll probably give us at least some idea what Microsoft's going to do. But that's why I'm interested in that shit.
Yeah, so we saw some of the designs that looks very similar. I don't know how true they were, those concepts. I'm hoping they do something a little bit more innovative as well, rather than just a power upgrade, because Nintendo, you can typically bank on coming up with some kind of, not gimmick, but some kind of cool, different touch. I mean, they did devise this incredible hybrid console, so they deserve a lot. On that point, though, this Thursday, we have the Xbox Tokyo Game Show showing.
We do.
Now, there wasn't that much hype for this until this week, actually, because you've got Phil Spencer released out a video. He goes, "Konnichiwa, I want people to join us for next week." And you're like, "Whoa, like, hold on." Like, he's done a little statement. Is that video? Is it? Are they going to show something? And then Tom Warren comes out. You might want to tune in for this. And there are some rumblings of what may or may not be shown. It could be not much. Could be a pretty calm, tepid show. Oh, sorry. Before I do that, I do need to read Chris's super chat, which you will love. It says Nintendo can suck Donkey Kong dick. So I'm sure you love. I'm sure you love that. Thanks for that, Chris. Demonetized. But yeah. So Xbox had.
Is this a PG show?
No chance. But we had David Jaffe on, and he goes, "My videos never get demonetized. Instantly demonetized." I'm like, yeah. It just said auto demonetize my streams. I don't care. But we've got Xbox at Tokyo Game Show, and there's a little bit of hype. And the lots of people like, what can they show? Like, it could be just a pretty chilled show, like some games here and there. Or, and I tweeted out there, I'm like, and you responded to this, and I said, look, there's one thing that Xbox fans really want to see. Even if they don't play this, they will want to see it. And you know what it was. Everyone knew. Well, some did. So some people were like, what are you talking about? And it's Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy, and we'll talk about the performance of this PlayStation, man. Don't buy your games. What's going on? So this week we found out that after so much scathing, just like derision from Takashi, from Bloomberg, saying that Final Fantasy is underperformed. Final Fantasy is underperformed. In the investor meeting, Square have said Final Fantasy has underperformed. Actually, this has been morphed into... Let's talk about Final Fantasy has underperformed, then we'll talk about Xbox, actually. Final Fantasy has underperformed on the PlayStation, and Square Enix have typically had these really lofty goals, and many have critiqued Square Enix for having unrealistic expectations, but nevertheless, Final Fantasy sales haven't actually struck me as that impressive for a title or an IP that's weighed in so strongly in a lot of the exclusive war, the rhetoric behind the strength of this IP isn't backed by strong sales. Like, I was very surprised that Final Fantasy VII Remake was at 5 mil or something around about there, and I'm like, just 5? Or like on a 160 mil like user base? And people are like, no, that's fine, that's good. I'm like, 5 mil for Final Fantasy VII? But this is coming from a fan base that always mocks Xbox guys for not buying their games. And then Takashi, who has been murked by Nibbles, let's be honest, this guy called Nibs, shout out to the Bangladeshi brother who just loves to, if you've seen his tweets, they're like dissertations galore, and he's still denying it, even though Square Enix this week have come out. Their slides have said that the games have underperformed, and they've chucked it in Final Fantasy VII in there specifically and referenced that. And I think it's obvious, and there are a multitude of questions to ask here, but Jez, why is that? Our PlayStation guys just barking too much and not backing their barking by buying this game? Is Final Fantasy just waning as an IP?
They've got I got theories about this, right?
Yeah.
And one of the issues with curating nostalgia is that you've got to be consistent. And the problem with Final Fantasy is that I think the people running it, the people who run in Final Fantasy these days,
Yeah.
and honestly, I think Tetsuya Nomura has some blame to shoulder here, is that they want to experiment with the formula to the detriment of the core fans. So it's
Definitely.
like when they started fucking around with the formula was when, even when I was younger, I immediately started to switch off. And it was like Final Fantasy X was great, and then Final Fantasy 11 was an MMO. Fair enough, they want to do a service game, whatever. I wouldn't have called that Final Fantasy 11. I would have called it Final Fantasy Online, or you know, it's a spin-off, so call it a fucking spin-off. But whatever, fine. Final Fantasy 12 was when I started realizing, like, this is fucking weird, bro. What the fuck are they doing with this franchise? This is fucking weird. This makes no sense, you know. I know some people love Final Fantasy 12. If you came in Final Fantasy 12, and it was your first Final Fantasy, then maybe you love it. But it was the first game that was sort of like went in a more tactical direction and less of a turn-based direction. So like it was almost like Dragon Age Origins. It was weird. I didn't like it, and then, you know, I never finished it because it was just fucking weird. And then like Final Fantasy 13 come back, and they're like went a little bit back more in the turn-based direction, but like the story was kind of weak and the characters were kind of weak, I think. But again, some people have huge nostalgia for Final Fantasy 13, and there's a rumor that one of the announcements of Tokyo Game Show, this is 4chan rumors, so I take this with a massive truckload of salt, but one of the rumors is that Final Fantasy 13 is getting a remaster collection, all 3 games. And, you know, there must enough people must have liked it for them to have made 3 games about it. But again, Final Fantasy 13, I remember the core community. Yeah, there was a big backlash about it. Final Fantasy 13, then Final Fantasy 14. Again, you're damaging the brand again. Final Fantasy 14 was a fucking disaster when it launched. It was a legendary disaster. It was up there with Concord as one of the most expensive disasters of its era. And fair play to them. They basically rebuilt the entire fucking game. They basically made World of Warcraft, and with a Final Fantasy skin on it. But they really doubled down on some of the areas where World of Warcraft was weak, which is like story delivery. And again, this is like why I want Pokemon to have competition. The competition for Final Fantasy 14 gave Blizzard a kick up the arse, and now The War Within has the best story delivery the franchise has ever seen. So, you know, that's why competition is important. But
Yeah.
the lack of consistency in Final Fantasy has been only served to erode the brand. So like you don't, it's the 15th installment in the game. You don't know what kind of game you're getting. All you know is that Ifrit's going to be there. There's going to be Tombury's there. There's going to be Malboro's there. It's going to give you those like visual nostalgia hits, but the gameplay is going to be completely whack. Final Fantasy 15 has shit gameplay, and I am sorry, but it is just awful. The gameplay
Do you mean 16?
No, 15. I'm talking about 15 now. Like we're going for all of them. 15 is a shit game.
I started playing it and I just could not gel with the cast, the gameplay.
Boring.
I couldn't do it.
Gameplay. I know they changed the gameplay, I think, since launch. I think they let you control the other characters now, but at launch, the gameplay itself, it was so boring. It was like,
I couldn't get
summons would appear at random. My party dudes would kill everything for me. I just stand there doing fucking nothing. It was like, what the fuck is this game? It's not a game. It's a fucking self-indulgent block, you know, it feels like someone's fan fiction, awful game. So like they've had like so many iterations of Final Fantasy where they've eroded the nostalgia that people have for when it was at its height, which is Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10. That's when it was at its height, you know, arguably speaking, in terms of the mainline games. I mean, you could say that the game's it's at its height now because Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn is like doing so well, or it has been doing well. The latest expansion is doesn't exactly have a lot of hot excitement around it, but you know, it has been doing well. And then you got 16. I haven't played 16 yet, so I won't comment on it. But again, they've messed around with the formula again, and it's a point where like you can't have nostalgia for this game because they've changed it so much about what it represents. You know, like other games that curate nostalgia really well, you know, like Mario, Zelda, Monster Hunter, when they introduce new elements, they do it in a very careful, measured way.
Yeah.
Like Monster Hunter Wilds. Essentially, if the only other Monster Hunter game you've played is like one of the older games, like Try or, you know, Generations, or going back even further back, you can pick it up and you can figure it out. You know, it's like, oh, this is my greatsword, this is my true charge slash, and this is, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know. And they introduce new elements in a very gradual way, where it's like, we want to keep it nostalgic, but not just the visuals, but also the gameplay, and make sure that when we do, we want to make it fresh, but not reinvent the whole fucking wheel. But the people running Final Fantasy have just been like, oh yeah, we could do all this weird experimental shit, game over game over game, and it's just destroyed any nostalgia that franchise could have potentially had. But when you come out with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is nothing like Final Fantasy VII the original, not just in terms of the gameplay, but also the weird story direction they took it in. It's sort of like, I really like Final Fantasy VII Remake, but you split the audience between people who are appreciating it for what it is and the people who literally wanted a remake. They put remake in the title, but it's not a remake. It's, again, fanfiction-y. The ending was terrible in Remake. Just ridiculous. Metaphysical bullshit that doesn't make any sense. And the gameplay took some getting used to. I did eventually really like the gameplay, but the story direction was just, this is ridiculous. So if you were someone who isn't willing to put up with Nomura's bullshit,
you think that's what it is?
You probably dropped off when it comes to Rebirth. It was like, you've messed with the formula, and you've Kingdom Hearts'd it, and now it's like overlapping timelines and all this weird stuff, and, you know, you got to do some things fresh, but Capcom knows how to do that shit, man. Like, Resident Evil 2 Remake is probably the best remake ever, and it's not wildly different from the original. It's like the original, but modernized.
Yeah.
And they preserved the nostalgia. They preserved the high spots and the story. They did it perfectly. And I think everything that Square Enix has done with Final Fantasy from a high up editorial perspective, they fucked it. They fucked all nostalgia for the game that they ever could have had, and that it's too far gone. Too many iterations of Final Fantasy for it to come back to what it was. Like, you could launch, like, you could do like Final Fantasy 9 Remake, for example, that was like perfectly faithful to original game, turn-based, stylized graphics, don't even need to do photorealism. And I think because you haven't curated that consistency, you've kind of, there's no hype behind it. Like Persona, again, Persona's super consistent. Dragon Quest even, which Square Enix own. So they know how to do it. Dragon Quest, super consistent. They will not fuck with that format, I tell you that much. But for some reason, they've fucked with Final Fantasy format so much that no one cares about it. And this is their punishment, you know. It's really shit. As someone who, Final Fantasy VII is probably my favorite game of all time, not counting Warcraft.
That's cool.
And I'm upset about it.
You've got your Final Fantasy 16, which then works alongside Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Final Fantasy 16 will piss you off initially because you'll be watching the game for about the first hour. You can't even do anything. There's like literally, I'm not even joking. It takes the piss.
So self-indulgent, man. I hate games that
are
just like, let me fucking play it.
Massively. And then when you do play it, there's this like an on rails, like you're firing lasers from a dragon. I posted on Twitter to take the piss. I go, triangle, triangle, triangle. This is my gameplay. Triangle, triangle. And then I didn't mind the risk they were taking with the Devil May Cry kind of combat mechanics in the game, because the funny thing is when you would play Final Fantasy, this around about when 7, 8, 9 was coming out, everyone's like, yeah, but I don't like turn-based because the game's graphics are so good, but I wish the gameplay was more interactive. But the problem with 16 was it's too easy. It was just too easy. I think you'll find that. But I stopped playing it because this is what I do with RPGs. But I did really like the story, even though I didn't think I would, because it's all British. It's like British. There's like really shit dialogue, like really like dumb. The Final Fantasy 16 has some of the most, and I haven't completed it, but I encountered some of the worst side quests in that game. Like, are you taking the piss right now? There was one bit they showed a massive cutscene after ages, and then let you play the game, and all you do is like point to a map, fast travel, loading, next cutscene. I'm like, you're taking the piss. That's not gameplay. Horribly self-indulgent, horrible design. And I've just today started Lost Odyssey, which is such a breath of fresh air. I say fresh air, it's old air, nostalgia. But, well, it's not really nostalgia. This is an old RPG that just sticks to the basics, and it's like Final Fantasy, basically, the way you play the old, and it's aged really well. And I was just like, this game is amazing. Shout out to Lao Shimazaki with a 1,000 yen, because Jez disrespecting 15, he shat all over it. Lao, your camera's struggling there. Yeah, man, Final Fantasy is like, I do think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that kind of toying around with it and the inconsistency of the delivery is why I think a lot of people just feel a little bit down on it. And plus, it's a generational thing. The people that grew up with Final Fantasy are some of the older peeps. What the hell's happened with that?
This camera pisses me off, dude.
What camera do you have, by the way, out of interest?
It's an Elgato Facecam V2. Like, for some reason, Discord doesn't like it. Don't know why. Well, it works fine on Streamlabs, but Discord does not like it.
I thought you had a cam link, or got a cam link, which was the reason why it was. Well, we can see a quarter of your face for now. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Maybe I'll try and lower the resolution. Maybe it's a performance thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to be okay now. But yeah, so look, maybe I think it is that more than the platform. Now, a lot of people, it came out on PC and it had like a topped at about 20,000 odd players, which isn't that high.
It ain't to do with like I was trolling Sony fans because Sony fans were like, oh, no one on Xbox buys JRPGs, but it's apparently no one on PlayStation buys JRPGs because look at fucking Final Fantasy sales.
Yeah,
but
man.
it ain't PlayStation's fault, evidently. Like,
yeah.
You live in London. Did you see all the advertising they did for 16? No, 7 Rebirth in London. Like, I was in London for, what was it now? I was in London for, was it Wilds? No, I was in London for Dragon's Dogma 2.
Okay. And
there was Final Fantasy 7 marketing. Or was it 16? I can't remember. But there was Final Fantasy PlayStation marketing everywhere. Sony clearly paid for that.
Yeah.
So
I always see Sony advertising everything, everywhere.
Yeah. Sony fucking delivered marketing for that game, for Square Enix.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it was Sony's fault at all, because I remember thinking, man, I wish Xbox would market a game like this. But I think they think people will buy it just on the basis of nostalgia, but nobody has any nostalgia because every fucking game is completely different.
Yeah.
So how can you have any nostalgia for something? You can't have nostalgia for just a title. The word Final Fantasy doesn't mean anything anymore. It means something different to everyone. Whereas, like, when you got a Mario, you know what you're getting with Mario. When you've got a Dragon Quest, even, you know what you're getting with Dragon Quest. Monster Hunter, all these nostalgic classic franchises have been curated very, very scientifically, and Final Fantasy's just been all over the fucking place. Since the team that made Lost Odyssey, Mistwalker, that's the OG Final Fantasy team, you know. They know that classic formula, right? They don't have the budget to make the kind of AAA game that people want them to make these days. But they know that formula, and it bleeds through with Lost Odyssey. You can feel it, you know. And they just fucked it so bad, man. And I know, and there are things I like about Final Fantasy 15. I like the vibe. I like the whole sort of road trip vibe. I love that. It's just the gameplay was just fucking horrible at launch, man. And I know they've changed it. It's had DLC. I even like the characters, like the villain. I think he's quite cool. Quite complicated villain. I quite liked him. But it's just like everything was just automatic. let me fucking play the game. You know, I
I'm
would
very
love to see
intrigued to see what you think about 16. Then I wonder what you say.
give From Software Final Fantasy IP.
Ooh.
I make games that you can actually play. I don't like. I've become really resentful of games that don't let me play, like Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
I want to play a game. I want to click on things. I want to shoot things. Let me play the game. You know, if I want to watch something, I'll go to the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I don't want that out of Final Fantasy. I don't want to just watch a game. But yeah, I've got Final Fantasy 16 installed on my lovely 480 PC. You know, because I'm a fraud. I don't really play on Xbox. I just play on PC apparently.
It's the same thing now.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's what they say on Twitter. That I ain't an Xbox gamer. I'm just a really a PC fraud.
Well, Xbox literally.
Thanks to WoW, it's true.
Well, thanks to Xbox, it's true because they're like, no console needed. So you're just following Xbox's mandate. It's true. Like, what the freak? Now I can be a Xbox gamer on PlayStation. So it just makes no sense. But I think you're right. I have to defer to your knowledge on this, bro. I've never actually completed it. I've got Final Fantasy 8 still. I'm on disc 2, and that's the same point I get bored. The same point.
Where is that?
You know, after you have the dream sequence and you had the festival, and then you go into you party up with the evil queen woman, and you go to space.
The assassination bit.
Yeah, after the assassination. Oh, right. And then you go to the weird, the island. Like you're going back, and they're reminiscing when they were friends or something, and they're going back to the island.
Oh yeah, they remember. They figure out that they forgot everything.
Yeah. And it's just like
the Final Fantasy 8 stories. Yeah, the story's a bit fucked.
I do want to complete it, but I'm sticking to one now. Lost Odyssey, because that's amazing. And it's dark. They're like, yeah, we have the dreams that they tell you. Yeah. Like, I'm reading all of them, like the little stories of the little girl who was telling lies and shit, and then someone died. I was like, this is a dark game. And Lost Odyssey was known for that. And I'm hoping we get to see something.
Lost Odyssey is actually, I think, what made me think Final Fantasy 13 was shit. Because Lost Odyssey and Final Fantasy 13 start in a similar way. It's in the middle of a war zone. But Lost Odyssey just felt way more authentic about the setting they were trying to portray. Like, it's darker. It respects the setting. Whereas, like, Final Fantasy 13 is like, it's a war, but here's all these funny, quirky jokes and these, you know, and lightheartedness. And it just didn't, it felt like it lacked authenticity some way. It really put me off instantaneously, but I don't know. I got weird feelings about Final Fantasy because nostalgia, you know, nostalgia can work against you as well. Where it's like, I'm so nostalgic, I won't try something new.
Yeah.
But I think with Final Fantasy, it's worked really against them, the nostalgia.
I think you're right.
Halo too. I think Halo suffers from this as well because I remember half the community want sprint and ground pound and aim down sights, and the other half like, no, keep it pure and nostalgic and like it's stuck in the early 2000s.
Oh
you know, so
absolutely.
Nostalgia can be a boon and it can be something negative. You know,
it's a
double-edged sword, man. It's a double-edged sword.
It really is. You absolutely nailed it there. And we've got an example of nostalgia really helping with Astrobot and helping with other games, and then you've got Final Fantasy, which is literally the other side of it. And Halo's a prime example of that. There are people out there who literally make websites on no sprint, and if you even dare espouse that Halo takes a risk, and I'm of that squarely in that. If you're going to evolve a genre, and Halo has such a high ceiling, and you're going to stop it from evolving, I want Pierre Hinte and the new 343 to take a middle finger up at all Halo fans. They're like, do you like Halo? Do you want a pure Halo? Go screw yourself. We are making the Halo game that we want to make. That would be the equivalent of Denis Villeneuve doing what he did with Dune, where you're so confident in Dune and in his vision of Dune. He said, screw everyone else's. I know what Dune is going to be like. My version of Dune as a kid. And he's just,
man, that's so weird you mentioned that. Because I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, but I was explaining Blade Runner to her and the new Blade Runner movie.
Yeah.
And the dude, he hates it, the new one, the director. And I'm sitting there thinking, fucking love that movie as a dude,
Who
as
hates
a
it?
Blade Runner fan. Like, because the director, David
Denny
Villeneuve,
said he will never go back to working on someone else's IP or something again or some shit. He didn't like it.
he said something like, I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing it, but he said something like, and this is well off topic, but he said something like, I don't know what I was thinking when I made that movie, and I was like, bro, the movie's fucking fantastic.
Blade
Please,
Runner
I want more of
2049
them.
is my number one movie of all time. Of all time.
It's
for me.
up there for me.
It's
It's
the
a top
number
10
one
for me.
It's number one for
It's
me.
it's an amazing movie.
It's from the font he used to show
good,
the
man.
text at the start, the story, to the music,
yeah.
to the cinematography. It's like, what?
He made Jared Leto good.
Bro, Jared
That's
Leto's
a fucking
crazy. You did.
I
you
hate
did.
all
That-
Jared Leto movies, but he was so fucking good in that.
Bro, Jared Leto was incredible in that. That
He was
movie
really
was
good in that, yeah.
on a meta level, like so, and he played the part of basically a replicant god so well, so intimidating.
So good, yeah. He was really fucking good, man.
Denny is on crack when he thinks about. I don't know what is wrong with him because he's a genius.
He must feel bad about the box office and shit. I fully blame the marketing of that movie.
Yes.
Like, apparently Blade Runner 1, like, obviously I wasn't around for the marketing beats of that movie, but I read some of that Blade Runner 1 had similar issues where, like, people didn't know what kind of movie it was.
Yeah.
But I fucking love that movie, man.
I watched Blade Runner 1
cinema.
really late as well, and I'm like, this isn't what I thought
I
this
watched
was
it
going to be
late
like.
too.
Yeah. But then when Blade Runner 2 was coming out, I went back to 1 and my French friend was accosting me for not getting the themes. I watched it again. I was like, this is good. I get it now. If you were watching this all those years ago. But, Halo needs someone who has absolute gigantic balls to take Halo to the next sci-fi frontier. It will never happen because Halo's community is so toxic because of the very thing you mentioned is that toxic nostalgia. That's the double-edged sword. It will hinder your creativity massively because you're going to be rebuked from the get-go because fans will have
it's hard, man.
weird associations with things like that. And that's why I thought Gears was when they had Gears. What was it? The Coalition took on Gears, and they saw the first Gears that they did for whatever it was. I was like, this, you didn't even.
Gears is a really great example here because, one of the big issues with Gears is that people hate the wall bouncing stuff, which stops it generating, stops it appealing to a casual market, which you need in order to drive the kind of revenue that, the industry demands of a AAA game these days. So, like, you've got to appease the sort of core fans by having all that stuff in it, but then you've also got to try and figure out how to appeal to the new blood and the new crowd who they want things like aim down sights and they don't want to learn the almost fighting game like mechanics that the game has with the movement. So like Gears is another good example where it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place in some degrees, but I don't know, man. It's hard, man. Making games is hard, and this is why I got empathy for those dudes, man.
Shut up, Jess. You're going back to your empathy. I don't want to come by hard for the next one. We're talking about the PlayStation state of play, man. This is happening this. It's happening this Thursday. That's what's rumored to be.
Right.
And it's going alongside toe-to-toe with my Xbox's Tokyo Game Show. So we've had some, like, again, it's not formally announced, so I'm pretty sure this is what Jeff Grubb was.
Is it a grub?
Grub, it's a grub. It's a Jeff Grubb. It's a grub, and also he's saying things like that, well, don't expect a heap of first party. He's not sure. He's definitely not saying that. But you'll see some remasters, and we've got like some more news of Horizon Zero Dawn is being remastered again, and I can't believe that. But I can because Sony's taking the piss. And then on top of that, you've got some rumors that Days Gone is getting a remaster, and I'm like, yo, what? I'm praying it's true. Please be true.
I like that game.
Please be true. The console war
I like
or
Days
whatever
Gone,
platform was, bro. look, a lot of people say I liked it. It was a good fun game, and fair enough. Like I tried it, and it just seemed like a bit dry. But I heard after 5 hours,
it is dry. It's a slow fucking burn, man. The guy's gone, but it's like it's almost like a Ubisoft game, but good. I don't know. I was like,
I get it. I get it. What you say that.
It's a slow burn though.
I've heard that it's a decent game, and John Garvin's gonna freaking go out on a school shooting or something. I shouldn't say that, but he's gonna go crazy.
Now you're fucking demonetized.
Yeah, definitely.
Holy shit. Man.
Yeah, definitely. But he's gonna shoot up something if he finds out, or shoot up something into his veins, because this guy's gonna be pissed. If the mere notion of a Days Gone little memorabilia in Astrobot pissed him off, that they were giving homage to freaking Days Gone and Deacon in the game. Can you imagine they started greenlight a remaster? He's going to be so insufferable on there. And really, in both counts, he should be happy that Sony had faith into remastering. Maybe not the sequel, but bro.
Didn't it come out that the devs themselves didn't want to make a sequel of Days Gone? I don't know.
I think so this is the point where he was directing his anger at maybe Sony execs and their obsession with Metacritic, but it turned out that it was the studio within themselves that didn't really want to do a second game, and then and it just makes him look out to be a bit crazy. But what and I put this on our promo material: soulless Sony. And that's the reason why I titled it, other than just bait and it's a console war, is the fact that I genuinely believe Sony is now the Apple of gaming. Well, not now. It's been positioning itself that way for ages. From its pricing, from its peripherals, from its policies, to its price hikes, to everything. They are the Apple of gaming. And Apple are great in terms of mobile phone stuff. They have some really cool stuff. And PlayStation has some great first part. Yeah. I've heard. I've never had Apple. I'm an Android guy, so the camera stuff's really cool.
Fucking Android, baby.
Yeah, the damn right. I've seen the Huawei foldable 3x one. That turns into a whole tablet. Yeah, that's
crazy, bro.
I'm going straight to China.
Crazy.
I'm buying phone.
Yeah.
I'm buying
that. The Chinese, when it comes to phones, they are cracked. Have you seen the Oppo stuff they've been putting out?
No.
Oppo also has this weird triple folding phone bullshit, man. It's crazy, man. But anyway, continue.
I'm going with Chinese phones, man. Because I don't want some Israeli.
If you buy one, the government's going to track you, sure. But the technology's good.
The Chinese government, as if the West is fine. You just had a bunch
that come around your house, dude.
Bro, the freaking Israelis will blow up your phone. This blew up the pages and all sorts.
Shit.
Search Pegasus and you'll realize.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, bro, they're crazy.
I know about Pegasus, yeah.
Yeah,
crazy shit out
there's mad stuff there. But speaking of Pegasus and ponies...
Now you fucking demonetized on a list.
Bro, that would happen at birth. I'll tell you the story when I went to America and the guy looked at my passport and saw my place of birth. He just went, ooh. Just like, what?
What, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I went to Miami. I've told the story before, but I went to Miami. And then they just opened a separate line for me. And then the guy was just like, you here. And I thought, I'm lucky. I went to skip this massive queue. There's one queue for this whole people. And this guy looks at my passport. He goes, ooh. And I'm like, huh? And then I realized my place of birth says Islamabad. Can you imagine that to an American? Get to go with the security because it's my first time being in America after many years, and there was a whole thing. It's a whole thing with the security. If you can chat, then you can get away with it. But it was obvious I was there to party based on my luggage. You could just tell this guy's definitely here to collect some STDs or whatever. But it was it was a whole thing. But yeah, state of play, the remasters and whatnot. I give Xbox a hard time. You know that. I mean, all the time. Phil Spencer.
Yeah, you're a
that
pony,
shit.
According to Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter thinks I'm a pony. I'm a schizophrenic Xbox with them taking the piss out of Xbox, or take a piss out of PlayStation. I'm quite scathing.
I'm a PC gamer.
I'm going to be a PC gamer very soon. When the 5090 comes out, I will be a PC gamer. But if I was a PlayStation fan, I would be just like Jack Move Johnny, because holy crap, these guys, man, and you can clip it, you weirdos. These guys tolerate the mediocrity. For first parties have been something that they have leveraged to the top. They bought this console, the PS5 Pro is coming out. What are you going to show off with it? I don't care about less blurry Final Fantasy freaking 16 or 7 Rebirth. I'm like, what are you going to show? I made specific ponies agree to this condition, from BG to Nick Marseille, the biggest DNA guzzling Herman Hulst fan there is, that you have to admit, if they have a state of play or a showcase, they have to show something from their first part. Something is ridiculous. They're 3 years on and they have not had any decent first party showing on what PlayStation's beautiful stable of first party studios are doing, apart from loads of failures, and Astrobot, which is a great success, which I'll give it to them. But what are you showing off the power of the PS5 Pro? And you're gonna have a state of play, and you show remasters, Horizon Zero Dawn, Jez, what, spitting in the face of fans. They're just gonna keep churning out. And the defense is it's gonna sell loads, so people want it. Bro, why do you guys love getting shafted, man? Because if I heard that kind of stuff on the Xbox community, I'd just be banging heads with them. Like,
capitalism, baby.
Capitalism it is, but
supply and demand.
And that's what Sony is. They've done the gas pivot. They're doing the multiplayer. They clearly don't know what they're doing, because they're failing horrendously on that. They're just raising the prices of everything, from their controller. There's 700 quid for this console. They've raised the bar now for the next Xbox, next PlayStation. They're all good. I do take this. They've got the baseline for the next consoles has increased. And what are you going to show for it? I'm not being a bot, Jez. They're taking the piss, man. Sony has no soul left. What is going on? It'd be so... And Jack Move Johnny is the only guy on the Xbox community, minus a couple of others, who are saying something like, these guys will tolerate anything. And it's, oh, but the sales are good. Fucking, I just don't get it. It's not just me. It's not just me. Jez, you know you agree with me. You know you agree with me. The PlayStation is a shit show, and the community is dog shit, and their roadmap is dog shit. They need to show something.
Do they? I don't know, man.
With the sales.
My backlog's crazy, bro.
Oh, shut up, Jez.
People always say like Xbox needs more games. Like, fucking hell, I got so much to play right now. That could take another year. That could take a year off.
Because you're playing World of Warcraft all the time, Jez. That's why you have a backlog. Just like I play Apex Legends.
That is part of it. It's part of it. You know, the service game stuff is a big issue for me. But it's like, does it matter really? It doesn't. I don't care, frankly.
And look at J-Dub. Shout out to J-Dub. J-Dub goes, we got Xbox games, Wukong, and games that can't run on Series S. Cheers. Bro, Xbox is catering for PlayStation fans better than PlayStation is catering to PlayStation fans. Concord Remastered. Thank you, says Chris. Bro, like, what is going on? They will tolerate
Voodoo Vince Remastered.
What? Voodoo Vince Remastered.
That's not Voodoo Vince with FPS boost.
Freaking Voodoo Vince. They're gonna talk about grabbed by the ghoulies next.
I don't know, man. It's hard for me to really have an opinion on this, because like I've got so much to play. So like anything, I don't get that excited about the future like I used to. Maybe like back in the day when I watched like, and maybe this is part of being a game journalist and becoming jaded about it and stuff, but. When I watch like a showcase these days, I just think, oh god, that's work. That's just going to be a load of work I've got to do.
That's a very specific mindset. Let's have a work.
But it is. I try to keep myself honestly, it's something I worry about. Is like becoming jaded and and too comfortable and all that kind of stuff. But I try to think like, how would I feel about this if I was like, if I didn't know Xbox's roadmap, for example. We know we know a broad slice of Xbox's roadmap, and even when you disregard, Blizzard and the service games, we know like, and even if you disregard the multiplats like Doom or Indiana Jones, we know the Blades come in, which are probably going to be multiplat too eventually. And you've got like Avowed, that looks pretty good, and all this other stuff. And I try to think of a time when we didn't really know much of Xbox's roadmap. So when did Xbox had a serious drought? When was it? Like during the sort of the Recore kind of era.
Oh, that drought. Oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, and Crackdown 3. God, that was dark times, man. Like, people say oh, Xbox is struggling now, man. Were you around during that period?
Oh my god,
during Myerson era? That was bad.
That was horrible.
Like Xbox trying to rebuild its studios and stuff. That's why they went on a buying spree in the first place, Like when I think back to those times, I still feel like I had loads of stuff to play. Maybe I kind of feel like people have too much free time if they're upset about this stuff. Like if you feel like you've got that.
It's not about that. I don't have no free time. If you feel like you've got nothing to
play, you feel like you've got nothing to play.
It's not about that, Jez. It's not about not having nothing to play.
What's it about then?
It's about the fact that you bought...
It's about console wars?
Obviously it's about console wars. But it's also about the fact that these bits of hardware haven't, principally, the first party games for these consoles.
Space Marine 2 just came out.
Space Marine is not
first party. Who cares if it's first party? Who cares if it's first party,
You and your kumbaya. You're like Paris Lily right now. I'm talking... Look, if your PlayStation...
Kumbaya, my lord. Come, I don't care if it's first party, man. Like maybe it's just like.
Yeah, you do.
I don't care about console wars.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I don't.
You can't
really
escape.
Don't. I genuinely don't.
It's just a defeated man playing World of Warcraft. Fucking World of Warcraft.
Played this game for 20 years, bro.
Right, bro. I don't know how you do it.
I just got a 6 staff right now, man. I just got an item level 603 champion upgrade level staff with 1,156 haste on it. I think I give a shit about Sony's state of play. I tell you, I fucking don't. I fucking don't give a shit about Sony's state of play, dude. Couldn't care less. I could not care less.
Bro, you just read out the stats on your staff and then said, I don't care about Sony's state of play.
I don't care about that state of play. I can't pretend that I give a shit. I can't. I'm sorry, I don't care.
What do you think Sony need to do in this showcase state of play?
They need a fucking service game. That's what they need. They need a Fortnite.
What? They want more Concord? You want more Concord as your answer?
They fucking blew it, man. They fucking blew it. Concord was going to be their Fortnite, man, and they fucking blew it. So,
bro, there's Star Wars apparently. There's Star Wars. How Sony? I have given them so much respect for their quality control, which I've used against Xbox. I'm like, Sony would never. Sony would never. Sony would never. And now after Concord, I can't say shit about Sony's quality control because that is disgustingly like 400 million. There's no coming back from that. There is no coming back from that. I think we need to.
It honestly just shows like the lack of experience they got in this space. Like clearly, like they know single player games clearly, and maybe
that's all they know.
All the execs.
One trick ponies. That's what they have.
Yeah, but maybe that's just like the games they like. The execs that play this stuff, and they're like, okay, well, all these younguns they want service games, so we're gonna try and make one. Let's try and figure out how we're going to make a service game. And they can't do it because they don't have anyone on the team that really gets that universe,
We've got Fair Games and you've got Marathon coming out. And if those two look like they're just... Now we're hearing that Marathon's a $40 game. Just like in the bloody footsteps of Concord. That rumored to be not only development hell from Jason Schreier, that the team don't think it's that good, that we had people coming in, like early like esports people played it, and like, and then they changed it to a hero shooter. Marathon from Bungie is going to be shit. How's Fair Game? One of them might actually mechanically be good. I'm not saying they're going to be terrible, But the chances are, the odds are against them. And if those two fail, Sony will forever be known as the shit one trick pony. And right now, from their remasters to nostalgia baiting, but which is fair enough, the 30th anniversary thing, they're allowed to do that. It's 30 years. But how can you be excited about PlayStation?
No, also the 30th anniversary this year.
Who?
Warcraft. Warcraft, guys. Warcraft. World of Warcraft is 20 years old, and Warcraft itself is 30 years old.
That's crazy.
That's really
crazy.
Interesting.
That's
really cool. You know,
what
what's cooler than console
years?
wars? World of Warcraft 20 years. Warcraft 1 came out 30 years ago, bro.
I can't believe World of Warcraft's 20 years. That makes me feel so old. Because I remember taking the magazine to my uni, and I was like, this game, I really want to play it. I couldn't afford a subscription back then. Then I got a job as Superdrug, and then started playing it, and then started paying Chinese bot farmers to get me gold to get a nether drake.
Oh, man, I did the exact same thing with the fucking nether drake.
Yeah. Bro, I didn't realize you had to farm the stupid eggs in that netherwing place, bro. For 3 weeks, you had to find those eggs. You had to get the exalted with that freaking faction to get the netherwing. I said, I paid £100 for this.
That's how I know you're an OG, man. That's how I know you're an OG.
Bro,
right,
but the way...
well off topic here.
Yeah, I know, yeah, sorry. But WoW has been responsible for some of the most hilarious gaming moments of my life.
The memes, man.
Bro, Undead Warlock, obviously. Always Undead. Always viciously Horde. I hated Alliance like they were Israeli. So it was bad. I definitely want to demonetize. Yeah, but I was there. Baron's chat. Baron's chat was hilarious. Like Wailing Caverns.
So good.
Bro, World PvP meant everything to me. I would rally outside Orgrim, standing above the bank, spamming, join the raid, let's go to Ironforge, just do it with the horde, and I managed to rally up a group, and we just got murked. We got murked. But 60 people, a whole raid group, me just begging, and they came in, and we just got destroyed, but it was so epic. And
good times, man.
There's no game like this. This is what I'm saying. No. Bro, I'm going to work on a video on it, like a feature video that no one will watch, that will spend 20 days editing, about why gaming is just not, like, generally, like, game devs are just fucking lazy. I'm sorry, but they are. You'll be like, oh, it's hard, man. I don't see the drive. I don't see the John Carmacks. I just don't see. There's such a rarity nowadays. Got a bunch of weird people riding tricycles and all sorts of purple hair, just filling their vidocs. I'm like, what's this soft culture with toxic positivity? You got freaking evidence, Jez. It's not just me ranting. Freaking Colin Moriarty, your best friend, is saying it. You got freaking journalists saying it. Toxic positivity is killing this industry. Toxic positivity caused them to spunk $400 million, and you're still going, I feel sorry for them. This is the craft. We live, breathe, and shit this stuff. These are the creators, curators, of course, developers. Respect them. They're making the games that we like. But now a bunch of pussies are making these games, man. I'm sorry. It sucks. That's my rant.
You doing?
So PlayStation State of Play. What are you expecting? What are you expecting? I'm just going.
I honestly don't know, man. I mean, I know when it comes to stuff that I'm not a personal fan of, right? And I'm not a personal fan of PlayStation. I don't own a PlayStation, so when I speak on this, it's more from an analytical perspective. Yeah. I know what the investors want. The investors want to see Sony's Fortnite. That's what they want to fucking see. Yeah. And they're freaking out now because if it's, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Colin's report about the 400 million, that's probably giving some investors something to worry about. It's like, and all the issues with Bungie, Bungie probably gonna be regarded as a mistaken acquisition in the future. I'm not a fan of Bungie either, so just full disclosure here. But I said to Rand, like, before, when there was another report, was that Colin as well? Maybe, I can't remember, but or maybe it was Jason Schreier. I can't remember exactly who said this, but there was a report that Bungie had a hand in cancelling The Last of Us factions. And I was saying around, like, if you're using Bungie as your sort of consultant over what constitutes a good service game, I think you're doing it wrong, because Destiny is not a good service game. That game is astronomically expensive. It takes months and months and months to get content out.
Yeah.
You know, and the way the game's structured is just, the margins are bad. You know, like you can say what you want about World of Warcraft's graphics, but one of the reasons they're able to pump out content relatively quickly is because they don't have to spend 50,000 years, you know, editing the pixels on, like, you know, it's a stylized graphics, you know, like Fortnite. It's easy to iterate on a game when the graphics don't have to look like photorealism, you know, to some degree. And I think AI will have a role to play in making games like that easy to develop for, but as of right now, it's really expensive. So that's what I think, you know, the investors want to see what Sony's doing on the service game or even the mobile front. But I know the core fans, they don't give a shit about that stuff. And, you know, and they probably want to see stuff like, you know, what is Santa Monica doing? What is Naughty Dog up to now that they've been freed up from working on this service game? And, you know, is there going to be a Last of Us 3? I think, didn't they say, I'm well out of touch here, but didn't they say something like the next game isn't Last of Us? It's something new or fresh, or is that a leak or report, something like that?
I think so. I think they confirmed that. I think Druckmann has said that they're working on something that's really ambitious. They always says that, but kind of hints at very similar kind of vibes of what Kojima was doing with like a TV kind of weird thing with OD, and I wonder whether we get to see that Kojima stuff as well.
That Kojima game, that looked fantastic, and, you know, and Kojima games are weird, but they're kind of special, right? Yeah, they're weird in a good way, unlike, you know, some other games which are weird in a bad way.
Let them take the risks, as they may not be for me, but or they may be. I haven't played.
That's what I respect about Sony, is that they will let Kojima make a weird fucking game.
So Microsoft's doing the same thing with OD. OD seems really weird, but they'll be desperate to get Kojima on. Whether or not that's going to be.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared that OD is just going to be a walking simulator, dude. I mean, I like PT for what it was, and if there's anyone that can make a walking simulator interesting, it's probably Kojima. But I'm just worried that it's like PlayStation's going to get the Kojima game that has lots of gameplay, and Xbox is going to get the weird fucking game, which is just
100%
walking around.
100% that's happening. 100% that's happening.
Yeah, you're probably right. Right.
Have you seen the description of the game for what Kojima's working on for Sony? It basically sounds like Metal Gear Solid with some crazy little innovations.
Cyberpunk Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I'm like,
why didn't Xbox get that game?
Freaking got some TV project, man. It's like, give me that game. So please, can we swap? Can we swap that? It's just like,
yeah, I don't want a walking simulator from. I just don't like walking simulators, man.
Yeah.
Does anyone really like walking simulators? Like, actually, chat. Does anyone? I respect the technical wizardry that represents Hellblade, but it's just, dude, I just don't want to walk around. Like, I was walking for 30 minutes at the start of Hellblade 2. I wanted to fucking jump off a cliff. I wanted to fucking, like, that volcano in the distance in Hellblade. I just wanted to throw myself in it. It's just like, this is just not for me, man.
Yeah, it's a very acquired taste. It has to guide me through. Like, and in my review, I was like, this is like, you know, I'm astounded at how little that they've evolved the gameplay. They have serious questions.
It has great looking rocks, man. It has great looking rocks.
The story, the audio, the visuals, all of that carried me through what was a lot of rote gameplay design. Minus.
Good word, rote. Oh, you got beeping.
Is that my
beep beep beep? Beep beep.
My mate's dropped his.
You ain't got a pager up here.
No, my mate's gone to Switzerland and he's dropped his freaking Range Rover. That might be his. Wait 1 second. And he's in Switzerland. So I have to hear this. Give me 1 second. 1 second, bro. I'll stop. Holy shit!
It's a Pegasus pager going on.
Give me 1 second, yeah? 1 second. Just talk to people about stuff, please.
I haven't got the chat open. Fucking hell.
Oh shit.
Oh
shit. Wait, let me just
Give me a sec. That's a cool shirt, guys.
Street Fighter Rare. I bought it from Malta. I don't think that's me.
That's fine, guys.
Oh, that's my neighbor. Oh shit. Oh my, that would be a nightmare for my neighbors if my mate is in Switzerland. I don't have the keys to his car, and he's just gone freaking. Oh, that'd be annoying. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, Kojima. Yeah, bro, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get the side project from it, but let's see. But Xbox TGS, man, this is the final topic. Well, second last topic. We'll talk just about Battlefield a bit. But Xbox Tokyo Game Show. What are you gonna expect? What are you expecting from them, man?
Tokyo Game Show. So, I'm not expecting people to be mind blown by it, because you got to remember this is mainly for an audience that eschews Xbox. So, like, a lot of it's going to be like, hey, we're Xbox. This is what we're doing, and it's going to be stuff we already know. So, you know, Call of Duty on Game Pass. There's going to be a lot of Game Pass stuff. But I have heard there is some stuff for sort of more global audience. So one of these things that I am expecting to see there is Final Fantasy in some form. I don't think 7. I've heard from a few sources that 7 is coming, but it's going to be further away.
So 7 is coming, you've heard?
I've heard 7 is coming someday. Someday. But
After
it won't be
episode 3's come out or something, so years ago.
Yeah, maybe. So it's going to be... I think the best you can hope for is 16 and Pixel Remaster.
Oh, yeah?
The worst you can hope for is the 13 Remaster bundle. If it's just that, I'm going to be like, oh, fucking hell. But, so, like, the rumored Final Fantasy 13 bundle. Because I remember when they announced Final Fantasy 13, it was on the Xbox stage. Do you remember this? They announced Final Fantasy 13 on the Xbox stage, and it was kind of like, it was a moment from back then where it was like, oh, Microsoft finally landed Final Fantasy. And it was like a moment.
Really? 13 was on Xbox
Yes.
stage?
Final Fantasy 13 was on the Xbox stage. And it was like Metal Gear Rising as well. It was on the Xbox stage, and it was like they're trying to get
Rising
more
was on the
Japanese
Xbox
games.
stage? What? I don't
Yeah,
remember
it
that.
was. It was announced on the Xbox stage. So it was like they're getting Metal Gear, they're getting Final Fantasy, and it was like this big deal that we're getting these IPs that were associated with PlayStation. So it's kind of like, oh, if it's going to be like the game that was originally announced on the Xbox stage, Final Fantasy 13 remastered, yeah. It's going to be like, at least that's something, you know. But I think what people would be more excited about is 16 Pixel Remaster.
Yeah.
7 ain't happening anytime soon, but it is happening someday. People don't want to believe it, but it is happening.
Yeah, so
Sony's deal with them ain't forever, and you gotta remember, like, these consoles are gonna have a long tail. They're gonna have a long fucking tail. So, just putting Final Fantasy 7 remake on Xbox will introduce it to a whole new audience. You know, maybe they even fucking backport it to Xbox One. You know, we've started seeing EA do porting games to Xbox One and PS4 because the audience there is still massive and relevant. Jedi Survivor, for example.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor.
To PS4, yeah, PS4 and Xbox One, because there's enough people there to justify the port. So maybe you even see Final Fantasy 7 eventually come to Xbox One. Because Final Fantasy 7 was for PS4 originally, but...
But what about the handheld? Because a lot of people are saying
Xbox handheld.
Well, why not reveal it there? This is Japan. Best place to do it.
You could maybe do it. I think that might be a stretch. I haven't heard that on my end, for example. But
they did say later this year. The Cerebon did say they were talking about it, and we're in September.
Yeah, so I see people linking Cerebon's comments that they're going to show some hardware towards the end of the year. But could it be the handheld? It could be a hint. Like, Cerebon did talk about how handhelds have changed AAA gaming and stuff in the Bloomberg piece, so maybe that was a hint, you know. But I haven't heard anything from my end. But
I think it would be a very good move. Japan is all handheld. Where else was better place to announce it? Nowhere else.
I think it would be a good move. It would be a good move, but I think that might be too optimistic. But I haven't heard anything, so maybe.
I reckon it could be.
But we'll see.
I reckon
We'll
they
see.
can. I reckon they'll. I mean, I'm guessing, but just the feelings in my testes tell me that the handhelds might get revealed in the Tokyo Game Show. You never know.
I heard there's also going to be a lot of Game Pass stuff.
Yeah, as always.
as well. Game Pass announcements. Well, that's obvious. You know, it's a given.
There'll definitely be a Yakuza thing there. There's always a Yakuza thing. These things, Xbox.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. That would be interesting. If they did again, this could be pretty chilled out minor show, and I'm overhyping it to my detriment. But they showed Final Fantasy 16, and they showed off the handheld, or even announced it, I guess. Well, but they should show off. I don't know. Either way, they did that. That'd be a pretty big show. Combine that with PlayStation. This is console wars now. But PlayStation has a crap state of play with remasters and whatnot. But you never know. Sony always surprise you. They could have a really good showcase and Xbox have nothing. We're going to find out. I'm very excited for this Thursday, Jez. I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to live stream.
That'll be good.
I'm going to work from home, and I'm going to live stream that day because it'll be it's good to get that kind of show. A lot of news to talk about, and it's just so much happening. Before we go, I don't know how big a Battlefield fan you are, but Battlefield is coming back, baby. Vince Zampella, who is a genius. I always rate him highly. He is the guy who created Titanfall. He's the genius behind Vince Zampella and someone else. The genius at Infinity Ward, the original Infinity Ward. It was Zampella and someone else, chat. If you remember who that is, I will make love to you. Vince Zampella and someone else. There's two bros in Infinity Ward that they were sick. And Vince Zampella is a genius, so he made Titanfall. He obviously is now heading Battlefield West and Zampella. Thank you, Abdel. So he's now heading Battlefield, and the best part about he's saying all the right things because Battlefield has fallen off massively. I'm a huge Battlefield fan. I was
Me too.
Loved Battlefield 2. I upgraded my PC to be able to play that. Freaking loved Battlefield 2, the best Battlefield for me. Then played Battlefield 3. It was sick on the jets. I wasn't playing on PC. I was accused of...
guys, I've just disconnected my earbuds by mistake.
Oh, no worries. But with Jarrett West? Or Jason West, I think it was. Jason West, yeah. Jason West and friends and Vince Zampella. But as Jez has disconnected his earphones. The Bluetooth ones. Battlefield 3 wasn't peak, Abdel, but it was good. I played the shit out of it. Let me know if you're back, Jez. He's not back. But yeah, like Battlefield 3 was good.
Yeah.
At least you back? All right. Yeah, so I was just saying Battlefield 3 was incredible, and then Battlefield 3 was great, and then after Battlefield 3, because I was on the forums all the time and just talking about this game, and because I was just hyped about Battlefield 4, and then the wrong language was seeping in, even with Battlefield 3, where they said they were going to lower the complexity threshold, basically saying make it accessible, dumb it down a bit. And Battlefield has just turned into this weird thing. The last Battlefield had the tornadoes and gimmicks and whatnot. So Vince Zampella's like, look, and the specialist classes, which is bollocks. I didn't even understand that. All that is going. So they're going back to their core strengths. And he cited Battlefield 3 and 4 explicitly. They're going back to the usual classes, which is great. And I wonder what else they're going to do. This game's going to be live and die on its map design as well. And they're going back from 124 to 60, 128 to 64 players only. They've said that's the sweet spot. Doing too many just kind of diluted the gameplay experience, which I can understand. So I'm really excited for Battlefield. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about, and it's always something I've always wanted in Battlefield, is a decent sized airspace for the jet. The jets don't need to be hindered to your standard map limitations. Let the jets fly, and typically they have a wider space because jets can't be constrained to a small map, but make it really wide. They don't have to be engaged against ground troops or tanks. ideally the jets should be fighting for air superiority in the air. So I hope they have decent play spaces for jets in the sky. And I also hope that it brings a lot of the complexity of Battlefield 2 back. Like, if the commander, everything that was dumbed down later on. So I really want, and I trust Zampella, but I'm excited for Battlefield, man. It's been a while since I've played Battlefield. I played the beta or wherever it was for the last one. I thought, like, yep, not for me. And it was broken. So,
yeah. Me and Rand talked about this the other day. Like, I really tried to get into Battlefield 2042. I don't like to be one of these guys, like, I don't know, I went on a load about nostalgia earlier, but I do like to try and give the new versions a chance.
Yep.
Like, you know, and try to get into it, because I don't want to be one of these dudes who, like, refuses to try anything new.
Yeah.
And, but I just could not get into it. I tried so hard, and it was just like, just everything felt off about it. Guns fell off, the maps fell off, flat, open, empty, no cover. And also, like, the cross-play stuff wasn't very well implemented in that game. You ended up in the game with, like, you know, bots and hackers sometimes because of the PC cross-play implementation, and I just couldn't get into it, man. A lot of the fucking specialists were dumb. The abilities were dumb. They're either too underpowered or too overpowered, and it's a mess, man. Yeah. Battlefield 1 was fucking peak, dude. It was fucking peak game. I love that game.
I can't get into the old school guns.
That's fine. Fair.
I didn't really like
Battlefield 1 is my favorite shooter of all time, I think. For multiplayer.
Yeah? Wow.
I think so. I played Overwatch more, but I think also for the, like, just spectacular fucking blimps on fire in the sky. And
that thing looks amazing. I was watching clips of that. They still look visually astounding, man. Like,
mind blowing, yeah. So good.
And then Levolution stuff was really good when the whole entire buildings come down from Battlefield 4, like that in China, in Shanghai. Yeah. And you're in the building and there's so much firing shit and the whole thing collapses. We don't see that kind of spectacle in gaming.
They just lost all their balls, man. It's like they put in, like, in Battlefield, the new one, there was like this, there's going to be climate change sandstorms and shit.
Bollocks.
And it's like,
bollocks.
I don't want to fucking put a rat. I'm sneaking up on a guy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking nail this group of people, and then a fucking tornado spawns on my face. It's so frustrating, man.
Very Fast and Furious, very dumb. Yeah, like,
just
kind of. Yeah, and hopefully this is the thing about Battlefield going back to. I do trust Zampella. I love
basics, they said, and I hope so. Yeah.
Bad Company was also really good, man. The maps were really good. Snow maps, desert maps.
Sniping, that was really good.
Sniping was so much fun. I had a little montage video of me sniping on that. I got one.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, did you?
Oh man, yeah, I did. I was one of the first gaming videos I made. Yeah. I had a montage where it was, part of it was long range, and then the other part was like with the the VS. Do you remember the VSS sniper rifle?
Oh yeah, the Russian one.
It was a sniper rifle, but it was handled more like a machine gun. Yeah, it was so good.
I remember that. With the weird scope with the little notches, like on the
yeah.
The V shape crosshairs. I remember it. I love that game. Was like, that had so much depth in that, and it was like amazing. It used to run on 360. Bring that back, and it could be coming back. Look, we're in a like weird limbo situation where game development budgets have spiraled, and you have all these weird games, and people may think like, are you just talking bollocks about the whole weird like lazy dev thing? But it's just a natural byproduct of the way the game industry's been spiraling upwards, development costs, and this ballooning, and COVID was a fat injection into this whole environment that just caused it to almost implode at one point, because this artificially just blew it up temporarily, and then people went on with their lives. But this is what bloody Cliff Bleszinski's been talking about for God knows how many years, that this has just been happening. And as much as I was going to say Jessica Alba, what's her name? The chick who did she's a really fit game journalist. What's her name? Starts with J.
I don't know.
Go and chat. She worked on God of War. Oh. She was crying about AI. Who was it? She was really fit. No.
Fucking no clue.
She's Alana Pierce. It's got a
There's
J.
no J there.
I don't know why I said J. Alana Pierce. It just looked like she had a J in her name. Alana Pierce. So Alana Pierce, as nice as she is to look at and as a person, I'm sure, she was bemoaning like AI and the use of AI in gaming, and I see a lot of tears. And people like you just, it's hard. Shut the but what's happening is the game, all these technologies, you either sink or swim. You can't ignore AI. You had a tweet earlier where saying, is AI a fad? Trust me, it's not. It is a ridiculous game changer for many people.
If you're a lawyer who just uses AI to do your whole job, then yeah, sure, it's a game changer.
You can't do that. You can't just use AI to do your job. But use it as a paralegal though. It's very. I train 2 paralegals right now, and I use ChatGPT, and it's so crazy how similar, because ChatGPT makes shit ton of mistakes as well. So it's just weird. But AI is gonna lower the ceiling of demand. The power is going to shift away from AAAs to indies and AAs with Unreal Engine 5 is so powerful that I genuinely think if I sat down, I could make a game, like a good game, if I just committed myself to it. The guys at Palworld, the developers, never developed a game in their life. They worked and developed and learned the tools as they were going. Like, how crazy is that, Jez?
Yeah, that's how you do it, man. I've made games.
That's crazy.
I did 1 course of Unity and made a fucking Space Invaders clone. Took me like 2 hours.
Bro, you could do that ChatGPT right now.
It was shit.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like if I went hardcore at it. Like when I was a kid, I learned animation from scratch. That was before YouTube even. You know, anyone can do it. You just got to sit there and be bothered, you know, and I can't.
But yeah, it's all about whether having the drive and the vision to do it. You really want to do it. And a lot of this balancing act of this commercialized gaming industry and the AAAs are not typically who I look at for inspiration. I'm hoping this balance shifts soon, and you're going to have your AAs and you're going to have your indies who are going to deliver, again, the vibrant games. Indies are now delivering beautiful looking games that are more beautiful looking than a lot of AAAs in terms of artistic style. Like Replaced is the best looking game. Cocoon was some of the best looking games I've ever seen. It was just amazing. It's my game of the year. And then you've got Replaced is looking really good. And now take that into like the 3D space, like even like AA studios, Space Marines. I'm pretty sure that's a AA studio. They smashed it out of the park. That game looks incredible visually. And then you've got RoboCop that's doing crazy stuff on Unreal Engine. Then you see so many UE5 games.
Quite impressive, yeah.
And you see so much of that, and you're going to start seeing that. So I'm thinking we're going to head towards that kind of almost not gaming nirvana. I don't want to beautify it too much, but it's coming to that point. I can see the tech is coming, and AI and stuff. All of that will help produce some bullshit and you know, nonsense stuff, of course, but it will also.
It's ultimately like, to some degree, it's the difference between a publicly traded company and a private company. You know, like Larian, for example. Larian, private company. No, they'll have some stakeholders, but it's like they're a private company and they do it for the love of it. You know, if they wanted to do it for the profit of it, they'd make some shitty mobile game that was full of clickbait ads, spam Instagram with the ads, and then they'd probably make, you know, really good money on really great margins and, you know, one off into the sunset. But they're clearly a studio like Larian just loves what they're doing. When you're a publicly traded company, though, you have to love what you're doing, but you also have to mess with all the fucking politics and profit margins and the spreadsheets and all that kind of shit. So, like, it is what it is, you know.
And that kind of symptom that needs to be removed from, and you're going to see more of it, and I think we will. But that's my fanciful Unreal Engine / indie AA laden future. Hopefully it comes to pass soon. I think it will. I can see it happening, but we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see. Well, Jez Corden, it has been a pleasure. Bro, this is
awesome, man.
This is the longest stream I've had on this stuff since doing a 2-man thing since I've started. So it's such a...
I fucking ramble, man. Like, this Why Me and Rand shows is way too long. Ramble, tangents.
It's so natural and it feels fun. It's just, we make a good duo. Bye, Rand. I've taken Jez. Jez, you don't need an introduction or an outro, but tell the people what you're doing and what's next.
Yeah, man. I mean, of course, Xbox 2 podcast over on Randall Thor 19's channel. You know, we talk about Xbox every Friday and random gaming news. I also do on Shackle Fury, which is a World of Warcraft podcast. You can find that on podcasting apps and things like that. And then windowscentral.com. It's a website all about the Microsoft ecosystem, Windows, hardware, PC, Xbox.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, although I am increasingly using Threads, I find lately.
Really?
Threads algorithm's pretty good, man. Like,
really?
I've noticed, like, yeah, I have 10,000 followers on Threads now.
Damn.
And 140,000 on Twitter, and the engagement is roughly the same.
I might start using
It's fucking
Threads.
crazy. Do it, man. It's a vibe. It's good. The app's really good too, and there's no fucking Musk on there.
That's a good shot. Well, then you're trading one reptilian for the other. You've got freaking
True.
that
True.
pod guy. But yeah, no. But honestly, thank you so much, Jez. It has been
Thank you, man.
an excellent show, man. I hope you had a good time. And chat.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks
you so
for
much.
having me.
Smash the like button if on the way out. So you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those places. Please give us a rating if there is a review placed there. Timestamps will be up shortly. We'll see you very, very soon. Take care. Peace.